I'll just have a cup of coffee.
Beer it is.
No, I said coffee.
Beer.
Coffee.
B-ear.
C-O.
B-E.
What? No. No. What? No. What? You went into the attic? I'm very disappointed and terrified. Why don't you bring this potato? That's pretty big.
Mom, you're always trying to give me potatoes. What is it with you?
I just think they're neat. Why do birds suddenly appear over there, over here? 8 spices. Some must be doubles. Oregano. What the hell? Oh no, not Lenny. Not Lenny. Kids, turn off the TV. I have some bad news about Lenny.
Not Lenny!
Live from the epicenter of independent cinema, it's Filmstuffs with your host, Jake S. Weisman. Tonight's guest, the Bad Movie Brunch Gang, Katie, Taylor, and Luke. With me, the original Ed Wood, Jack Quint. Let's start the show.
What's happening, film dorks? Welcome to Film Stuffs Live. I'm so excited about the show today. I wanted to do this show with Bad Movie Brunch because it's July 1st, which means it is Independence Day weekend, which means it's Southland Tales weekend. Bad Movie Brunch had me on to talk about Southland Tales. Me and Katie talked about it for a very long time. I think you can catch it on their channel. You can catch it here on Jelly Roll Chicago. We will be bringing them on in just a second. There is no news. Everyone's just pretending like everything is cool. Everything's cool. F9 made a lot of money. Good, cool. We're open. Everything's good. The real news for me is if you're a fan of Rollo Fish, the Jelly Roll jellyfish here, there will be a video. Thank you. There will be a video on the Aurelius Art YouTube channel showing how this beautiful fellow was made. And it will be up in the next couple of days, if not sooner. And then when you know how it's made, you'll say, man, I want one for myself. And we'll figure that and cross that bridge when we get there. The other fun news, please check out Aurelius Art on Instagram and YouTube. It's a wonderful, wonderful channel. So that's that news. The other news is I have put Scrapers on Vimeo for free. This is my response to all of our Amazon chats of the past couple, whatever. It's not free on Amazon anymore. And I wanted to be able to send it out and have people watch it. It's been out long enough. Go to vimeo.com/jellyrollchicago. There's some other stuff. But if you want to watch Scrapers in its entirety, you can stream it. And it's totally free. So please go for that. And I hope you enjoy the film. Jack, Jack.
Here I am.
How you doing, buddy?
A little burnt out today. I played music for children for 4 hours, really. So my voice is a little bit shot right now.
Was it a function, or do you just have children come to your apartment for you to sing to them?
Oh, God, no.
Is it like a Pied Piper type situation?
Ew, God, no. No. No, I go to the pie store and I throw pies at children, and it's so much fun. I have a gig
anything in New York, right?
It's a pop-up. I have a gig playing music, doing camp stuff for kids who are like anywhere from 3 to 9. The younger ones are great. The 9-year-olds are assholes, but
you and I have experience with drama camps and that age range.
Oh, yeah, but we were 11-year-old assholes, not 9-year-old assholes.
That's true, but well, that's an episode for another time, drama camp.
Can I just say, because I've known you for this long, I think it is worth saying, I don't have friends. I have family. F9.
Oh, Dom. Dom,
yes.
familia.
Thank you. All right, that did not go as well as I had hoped.
I've seen a Fast and Furious film.
you've seen a Fast but maybe not a Furious, or perhaps
I think I saw Hobbs and Shaw down the line.
Okay, that's a fun one, but it's not official canon. But
okay.
But
well,
all right, I would say Fast 5 is a good one, and also the one where they go to Germany and they go over the Autobahn is so much fun.
Yeah, we'll talk about. We got to bring these guys on.
We do, and in the meantime,
we'll sit here and talk about Fast and the Furious all fucking night. But
okay, fine. Please subscribe to our channel. Go to jellyrollchicago.com and make sure that you are subscribed to watch us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch. If you are subscribed to us on Facebook, you can know when we are doing the updates, when we have all of our shows, who is coming up on our shows, and when Jake does Film Stuffs Light. You will be in the know for that. And we want to encourage you to subscribe on YouTube so that you can see the program in its full HD quality. This is going to be very important when we do our retrospective, our look back when we do Film Stuffs so far. Jake, this episode is our 10th official interview episode.
It's our 11th.
Oh, it's the 11th one.
Yeah, last week was our 10th. This is our 11th. Yeah.
This is our 11th one.
Crazy,
and
right?
Yeah, it is. And plus the two episodes we've done so far of Film Stuffs so far.
Lucky 13.
And there's going to be another one on the way. Yeah, Lucky 13. So make sure that you are subscribed to us. And while you're at it, please help the show. You can Venmo us at Jelly Roll Chicago. It is very important so that we can keep bringing you this great content, that we can keep having wonderful guests on, and that we can afford our StreamYard services who are housing us and who are making this available to us. So please give us some love.
Thanks so much, Jack. So a little intro. We're going to get to know these guys. They're going to tell us more about them. We've had Lucas Guy Taylor on the show. He was our number one.
He was our
very first guest.
And he came back. He said yes.
He decided to come back, which was very kind of him. And we're going to have him on again solo. But hopefully we'll have everyone on again solo. But this isn't, like I said it before, Bad Movie Brunch it's just, I don't know how to describe this podcast other than it's my favorite podcast. I can listen to them all the time. And there's always just amazing takes. There's some amazing takes on some amazing movies from amazing people. So we have, in addition to Lucas Guy Taylor, we have Taylor, and we have Katie Grotzinger, all three. We've never had 4 or 5 people on the show before, so it's going to be a party. Let's bring them on. Let's bring them all on.
Yeah. You want me to fuck off?
Well, stay for a second, say hello, and then fuck off.
Sounds good.
We'll bring you back on. Hi.
Hey, everyone.
Hello.
Welcome. Yeah. Welcome to the show. Thanks for doing it.
Thank you for having us. Thank you.
All right, Jack. I appreciate you. We'll see you on the other side.
All right, now I'm going to go fuck off.
Bye, Jack.
Bye, everyone. Have a good show.
All right, get the fuck out of here.
Oh. Welcome.
I like that better.
It's nice. Is that Bug?
Yeah, I've got a cat yowling in the background.
We apologize. Our cats like to be the star.
I understand. I had some scratching underneath the door recently, just a second ago. Like, I would like to come in now. I'm like, no, the jellyfish has your seat. So tell me, when did Bad Movie Brunch start?
So when me and Katie were going to DePaul for our screenwriting MFAs, we have master's degrees. We were like, oh my God, we have to do a podcast together. And that nowadays that gets thrown around like one night stands. You know what I mean? It's like everybody's got a podcast together. But when we made that pact, it was still kind of like not every Joe Blow on the street had one. So we talked about it. And then when we were out here in LA, Katie was one of my roommates, and we were like still adamant about it. And by the time Tom Hush started doing No Coast,
Tom Hush,
he was super interested in helping us get started. And I was like, Katie, buy this mic and we can actually do it. I like that. That we just kind of went ahead and did it. Because is that how you remember it, Katie?
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of those things like I think a common joke is starting a bar together. That it's like one of those like
you should totally buy a bar
or start a band together. Things that people say but like never actually follow through on. Right. And the wonderful thing about Luke is that Luke actually follows through, and he made it happen. absolutely. And he took on the reins of editing and coordinating things. And I'm super grateful, especially because when we stopped being roommates and Luke went back to Chicago, there was a period of time where I just didn't have any friends in Los Angeles. I didn't know anybody. I didn't have a social life. I just went to work and I just had 2 bosses and no other employees. It was like a very like lonely time in my life. And I so looked forward to these podcasts every week where I got to talk about something that A, made me feel good, and B, with one of my best friends. And I was just like, oh, thank God that Luke followed through on this. It really was a saving grace for me during that time, and we've kept up with it ever since. And now we have the lovely Miss Taylor.
Yeah, say hi, Taylor.
Hi.
We didn't let you talk this whole time.
That's
No,
okay.
I'm about to.
The origin story beats me. Like
The show predates you by like
Yeah.
by like 90% of the episodes, but that's because you know, like at first we were going to WGN and Tom was letting me record there and have Katie phone in. I didn't know how to edit or do anything like that. And then
I made my first appearance in Jingle All the Way.
Yeah.
And then
This year.
And then when we moved to
the end of
LA,
2020.
I just got sick of Luke's takes. So I was like, let me take some more initiative.
Taylor, what was the take that pushed you over? Do you remember?
I think it was just like all of the I think once I sat down and watched Cats with Luke, I was like, why am I watching these movies and not sharing my opinion as well? Because mine's pretty funny.
I think she was like, Luke, you really enjoyed We Are Your Friends a little too much. I gotta be honest. At some point there's gotta be a line.
Is that Zac Efron?
Dude,
Is it ever?
It's fine. Everybody give it a break.
I remember when it came out because it was one of those like 3rd week in August releases when
Are we ever going to be better than this?
So Taylor, when did you join? That just a couple of months ago or when you moved to LA?
Officially, yeah. Like
I think I officially joined in the summer of last year.
But you did like years ago.
I did Jingle All the Way.
No, you did I'll Be Home for Christmas, didn't
That's
you?
what I meant.
Yeah,
Not
because you
Jingle All
did.
the Way.
Because Jingle All the Way, me and Katie did solo this year when I was in Minnesota. You did
I'll Be Home
years
for
and years ago.
Christmas is Jonathan
Yeah,
Taylor Thomas.
JTT.
Yeah.
And that was when we were
My favorite
still
Christmas
recording
movie.
at WGN. Like
Yeah.
we had to go downtown for that, and Tom
That
was
was
still taking care
fun.
of us.
I got a chance to do that a couple of times. That was
so professional for a podcast people weren't listening to. But we do better now. Like we actually have plays.
And shout out Tom Hush, who was our second guest on this show.
Yeah.
Oh
He
yeah.
was the
New 400 boys.
Tom was doing a lot of the heavy lifting for Bad Movie Brunch
We're the
first.
we're the
right?
Hillary boys. These new 400 boys.
Always.
Hi, Allie.
Wonderful. So do you I want to get to know you guys in a sec. Well, okay. How about right now? Taylor. What's you're an actress.
I'm an actor. Yeah. I am an actor, a little bit of producer. Before I met Luke, I was only doing theater. I have a degree in acting, and I was basically a company member for Missouri Shakespeare Festival. That was what I did outside of college, and I was really interested in that. And then I met Luke, and then Luke's like, "You want to be in my movie?" And I was like, "Yeah, I guess I should do film. Everyone says that it's fun." And we did a feature together. And then we moved to LA.
We did a short that you produced.
Yeah.
Like, because you were in that with Jake.
I was in a short that Jake wrote. I was in.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, we're blowing right through. I mean, the fact is that Luke wrote a feature and you carried the feature. Like, you did. I mean,
Grant did. Grant.
No, I will be live and on record for saying that is Grant is a wonderful pepper on a steak that is you and a reef. You guys are the steak. He is maybe some seasoning. It's great to watch Grant. You carry the film. I'm on record for saying that. And it's like I get. Well, the fact is I don't talk about it too much, but it's like Dakota, where when I watch you, I'm like, oh, I'm a big Taylor fan. Like I really like watching
I'm more
you
a fan
act.
than I am.
Well, get over it. Get that Kanye steez on. Put it on.
but yeah, so I that
And so, what are you up
That
to right
movie-
now?
when
That you're
I'm
allowed to talk
focused. Yeah, when I'm focused, I am working on Katie with a wonderful. Katie wrote this. Katie, do you want to talk about it a little bit, or do you want to keep it under radar?
Oh yeah, I'd love to talk about it.
Well, Katie wrote this. I basically like every 3 months will be like, Katie, you incredible writer. We always have the same opinions. You should write something. And then I'm like, yeah. And then I'm like, wait, that means I have to. I don't do the Luke Taylor. I can't like follow through. I'm like the ideas man. Very funny, hilarious, but
Definitely very funny.
very, very funny.
Hilarious.
But then I'm like, we have to do this. But Katie wrote this sweet little, it's like Katie's always the synopsis person, but
We forced that on.
I know.
Like, hey, summarize this for the audience and me, because I don't even remember it that well.
Maybe
Well,
the
we can
worst
leave it
part of
watch.
being a professional writer, as far as I'm concerned. Not that I really know, but I just hate synopsizing so much.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's a simple project. It's inspired by Neil Cicerega's haircut piece. I don't know if you've ever seen that, but it's a musical choose your own adventure story.
That's
with
fun.
simple little drawings. And he's an internetsman, so he's done everything. He's done Potter Puppet Pals, he's done mouth sounds. He's brilliant. But this is my favorite thing of his, and I really wanted to do something similar. I've wanted to for years. And finally, it clicked watching Oliver and Company. We watched it on Bad Movie Brunch. And I was like, I love the idea of stray animals, like an idea of a choose your own adventure featuring a stray dog. So that was the creation of Stray, which is this upcoming choose your own adventure video thing that will be on YouTube. It's not musical because I don't write music. I'm not that kind of talented. But it was a really fun branching story thing to write. And Taylor will be the lovely narrator.
Oh, wonderful. How does that work? How does a choose your own adventure story on YouTube work?
So the way that I was taking all my cues from Neil Cicerega. The way that one works is that there's a starter video that you watch. And from there, you have the options. And then you click whichever one that you want to do. And it continues like that. I think that it goes into 4 options, which actually branches off into something more like 16.
So 4 ending videos or something like that you then click, or?
I think more like 16 or so.
Okay.
That sounds like a lot, but it's
I
more
think
than
you're
that.
right.
Yeah.
It's like you can go from getting a haircut to like falling in love with Oprah Winfrey.
Oh yeah.
You'll have to send it over to us so we can post it on Facebook, because I only know about mouth sounds. Like the name I only know about is from his like mashup stuff on YouTube, but I don't even. This is the first I'm hearing about this, and it sounds fascinating. All I know about is Bandersnatch.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, it's kind of a similar thing again with the branching and how you hit dead ends and things like that. How there's good endings and bad endings. Definitely wanted to. But you can't call it a choose your own adventure because that's trademarked. So it's like an interactive, video story. Mm-hmm.
That's trademarked?
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
I mean,
that makes sense.
Get your money, man.
I guess every book ever. Oh, strange.
If you put hyphens between everything and make it one word, is it legal or not legal?
I don't know, to be honest with you. But I don't want to incur the wrath of the choose your own adventure estate. Like I don't want to know that. I'm sure there's many bad endings in that scenario, or many scenarios.
All right, here we go.
Do you think that there should be a theme park that is a choose your own adventure?
That sounds
Whoa!
Take me up.
Screen.
All right, we'll take the create your own story, and we'll trade off. We'll take it for our YouTube video, and I will pitch them their theme park.
Doesn't Disney shoot like half of Mandalorian on one wall pretty much? Like they've got like this like insane green screen. I think if anybody could do that,
dome thing.
Yeah,
right?
walk into it. If Disney has the money in the space, they can totally do that. Where you walk into like a fucking. Oh, sorry, GG. I'm sorry. You walk into like a room, and then it just kind of like Oh my God. It's like, and now I'm thinking of like Watchmen, like where they sort of like torture people with it. Like, but Disney wouldn't do that.
They sort
Disney
of do
wouldn't-
that though. Like, when you're waiting in line at Universal or you're waiting in line at Disney, there's kind of this ARG going on so that like you can look around and see what's going on.
Sure.
And it tells the story. And even at Universal, when it used to be like Back to the Future, there would be Doc Brown, strap into your seats, and then
totally
whatever.
that still exists. But I mean, like if you
Just
like
far more narratively
It's
driven.
like playing Clue, but like in real life. But each time you discover a different clue, it could take you like you'd have to have many different rooms. Honestly, probably theater has done it, and I'm just like being like,
Wait.
oh, crazy. Sleep No More probably is laughing in my face, being like,
There was something in New York that was like an interactive Macbeth that they did like different. I remember someone talking about it in like I can't remember where it was. I'll try and find it, but it was like 3 different floors, and someone kept going. My friend kept going over and over and over because it was just like this different Macbeth experience every single time.
That's
So
awesome.
You know what it sounds like, Katie? It sounds like that show that I forced you to watch and then I stopped watching. Dispatches from Elsewhere.
You didn't finish Dispatches from Elsewhere?
It really started to fuck with me emotionally. Sorry
what is
again.
it?
Oh.
What is it?
It's a Siegel like produced starring like show, and it's got like an awesome cast with like Andre
Sally
3K and Sally Field, and like it is sort of like a real life game, and it's like trippy narration and stuff. It's wonderful, but yeah, it was like sort of crushing my soul a little. Just it was really heartbreaking at times, and I was like, I don't know if I can handle this. I need to go watch Arrow again.
we got to the Sally Fields episode, and we were like,
Oh.
I
I'm like, I didn't need Sally Field's sad origin. I'm like, her husband's on her deathbed and whatnot. And I'm just like, I mean, I don't know. It just freaked me out.
it's very good. You should watch it.
It has one of the I'm trying to think of the word for it. Riskier endings of a TV show that I've ever seen. And
All right, well, that's good. I'll get back into it.
That's a
it
good
made
sell.
me really upset when I first watched it, and it stayed with me for like a couple. Like I kept thinking about it for like weeks, and I was like, I think I eventually kind of came around, but like for a while there, like it really affected me in such a way that I was like, man, this show, like, gosh. Also, I am so sorry. I'm so unprofessional. My computer is low battery, and I have to go get my cord. I will be right back.
Right. Jack! Oh my God. That was so fast.
Yeah, he's a pro.
Took her right
Jack-
off the screen.
Yeah, he's a beautiful producer. He's very,
Look,
very good at what he does.
Look, I love Jack. I think about it. I think about Jack the way Katie thinks about Dispatches from Elsewhere. he just sticks with me, man.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So what is next on the podcast that do you guys have anything like lined up?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we have Rough Night locked and loaded. We recorded that like a week or two ago.
What's that? What's Rough Night?
So Rough Night, formerly Move That Body, formerly Rock That Body. That was like a script we read at DePaul, and I thought Katie read it with me because like we were in a class in our program where they were like, learn to write coverage, read real scripts. And so like our teacher was like sliding us scripts that were being produced or whatever, different drafts of them. And so we read what became Rough Night, where basically it's an inverse where girls on a bachelorette party kill a male stripper, and what do they do with the body? And I remember thinking at the time, I was like, when we read it, and maybe it's because we weren't reading anything funny, I was like, oh, that was funny. Like, but maybe then like, no, seriously. And then I was like, I saw it and we like watched it finally, because I totally missed it being released. It was from like years ago.
Yeah, it's totally over my head. Who's in it?
Yeah. It's so Scarlett Joe is the anchor. That's who you cast. But it was like, I also picked it because I got obsessed with the show Hacks, which like Paul W. Downs like created or co-created, and this was also kind of his baby. I loved Broad City, which he had his hands all over, and so it also was like, here's Alana from Broad City, here's Jillian Bell from Workaholics,
Here's Kate McKinnon.
pre Brittany Runs a Marathon, and then Kate McKinnon was a ringer in the cast. Like it star-studded, and then like all Paul W. Downs friends are like Bo Burnham, like fucking Trevor Noah, like, or Eric Andre, like I don't remember who it is, but like all these comedians, like, you know what I mean? So it's a really star-studded thing, but it goes like, instead of that sweet 89 minuter, it's like closer to an hour 50, and we decided maybe killing a stripper just isn't funny, no matter if you're a boy or a girl, is what we kind of. So spoiler for the episode when I post it, because I haven't yet, but.
Because that's Very Bad Things. It's a Peter Berg movie with Christian Slater. I think we were talking about this before. Christian Slater, Daniel Stern, and a couple other people, where they like accidentally kill a hooker on a bed. It's like the exact same story, but the inverse. And yeah, I guess it's not very funny anymore.
Maybe it's just not that funny. Yeah,
was
maybe
it ever
just
funny? I remember people really enjoying that movie. It kind of like kicked off Peter Berg's directing career.
I saw a tweet today about, this is so funny you say Christian Slater, where it was like, if this were like 1990 and I'd never heard of Christian Slater and he walked into a room, I would guess his name is Christian Slater. And I was like, yeah, that's fair.
Is it the voice? I mean, that wouldn't be visual, but I think the voice is also another part of that. He sounds like a Christian Slater.
He does, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's all I have about Christian Slater, though.
I think that also it's hard to watch that movie, and after watching Promising Young Woman, it's like,
yeah,
you just see it. So I don't know if we would have watched it in reverse. It wouldn't have been like I could have pretended that was just a body double and he wasn't really dead.
Sure. Well, it's just like, even like it's like 5 years too late, because like we kept, and you'll hear the episode when we post it. But this is a little friggin' appetizer. Yeah, but it's like the whole we compare it to Bridesmaids a lot, and because I feel like it was trying to spark, like, get off that sort of bandwagon, but it's like late from Bridesmaids and doesn't have like the heart. So maybe if it came when Apatow was like really like throwing the heat, and every 6 months was a Apatow produced comedy.
It's that Hangover thing too.
Yeah,
right?
When that stuff's still funny. It's like, go watch Hangover 2, and like how like 40 minutes of that movie is like, isn't it funny that Ed Helms had sex with a trans person? He didn't know it. Isn't that funny? And it's like, okay, how recent was that movie? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, when I was in school, it was right before the first one came out, and I had to read the script for it, and because the writers were coming in, the two dudes that wrote the original draft of it, not the fact that Todd Phillips completely rewrote it to be like funny. But I had to read the original draft, and it was just like, what am I reading? What is this? If I didn't have these three dudes shooting it, like, and that was in 2009. So,
and Todd Phillips is like, I think he's super talented. Like I love most of his flicks. So like, if I didn't realize he came in and saved that script, at least on the first one. So good for him. But there's a lot of stuff that definitely doesn't work now, and was printing money when those flicks came out.
Sure. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, I think like the best thing about Bad Movie Brunch is like realizing how much Hollywood will like pick a thing for shock value, and watching whether or not it is gonna tank, or somehow magically they are going to pull it off, even though it is downright crazy. Is most of the movies that we watch.
Sure.
That's interesting. Just following the cash kind of a thing.
Well, when I feel like you move here and you're like, you're thinking about all these people who live around you who are trying to pitch a movie, or who are trying to make it in the business, or I think especially since Katie and Luke are writers, you're like, oh, I'm like, Luke tells me an idea, and I'm like, that's really good. Right. And like, it feels wholesome. And then you like go and watch movies, and then you start thinking about, well, how did this movie get made? Because we're watching the bad movies, whatever is Rotten Tomato. Like, I always go for the lowest ones. And you're sitting there being like, how did they pitch this? What did they think was going to work with this? And then did they pull it off? And I feel like we've watched a lot of movies lately where it's like, I just don't even know what you were thinking.
Well, and let me stress this: at least until Taylor came on the show, it was a very positive show. So, because I feel like the whole like you're roasting it, and I think that when the whole conception of the show was sort of like, we like this movie, so it didn't get a fair shake, is mainly our runner. Every now and then we'll dig into something. You know what I mean? And I'm kidding, of course. Like Taylor just tells it like it is, and I step on eggshells because we are writers. You know what I mean? So I'm like, what happens one day if me and Katie sell something, and then everybody's like, this fucking piece of shit. I saw Break. I saw Break on Amazon Prime. Read some of the reviews on Amazon Prime. Some of them are pretty mean. So like, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't necessarily feel good. And I think, and you know the same, Jake. Like once you make a flick, you don't necessarily look at things the same way, and it's not as easy to just like, you know, crush an ant with your boot. You know what I'm saying?
Well, then, to be fair, there's the opposite side.
Of course.
Because comedies are really hard. They're like, we have slowly watched comedies become harder and harder to make and harder to keep people interested in. It's like Judd Apatow, he was the reason why we all kept going to the movie theater. And then ever since then, there's a lot of movies that just flop. And the humor is changing, right? Humor isn't the same. We don't laugh the same way. The next generation doesn't laugh the same way as we do. But then on the other hand, you watch Hook. We just watched Hook recently. That was 29%. And the way that people talked about that movie, and then knowing how like it's a cult classic, is always really fun to like then try to figure out, well, what made it so that we all like, because we all three loved it. And so what's the juice that we liked that the critics hated?
Well, and sometimes movies, you say comedies are hard, but movies for kids are hard too, because critics aren't kids. So like if it they don't always go hand in hand. I think it's interesting when the comedies, like you look at filmmakers like that from that era who pivoted, like look at Adam McKay, who pivoted to Prestige. And so like, not only are his comedies like actually still mostly okay, rewatchable, there's some stuff that doesn't fly anymore, but like there's like
it's so strong, his
you know what I mean, but
collection of comedy is so strong.
But then he turns and gets a screenwriting Oscar nom and Big Shorts it, and then all of a sudden he's this dude. When like where now he's, what's the show you love that everybody loves? Secession. Like he like if you told. Yeah. And it's like, you tell me that's Adam McKay like 5 years ago, I would have never, not 5, 10. Right. I wouldn't have believed it. You know what I mean? And now it's like, of course it is. You just made the Dick Cheney movie. You know what I mean? Like this is an Oscar guy. Todd Phillips did the same exact thing. He pivoted into Prestige and now he's an Oscar guy. Sure. It's just it's kind of interesting the way the paths diverge.
And this is how the podcast goes.
It's also interesting because we all like very different movies, and so you get different takes. Because I'll often bring some weird like kids movie to the table, and it's like, what did you even think was going to happen? Like I brought Unico to the table at some point, and not even the Unico. Yeah, not even the Unico that like I swear by, which is Island of Magic, which just destroyed me as a child. But I like to bring that kind of thing. And Luke, of course, goes to bat for like comic book movies that he feels like haven't been given their right due. And with Taylor, we was it because I said so? We're delving into like that arena. So it's really rom-coms, interesting to get like the rom-com side as well. And
Lake House, again, that was a banger.
Lake House, that actually, I think that was my pick. Yeah, because I love me some Keanu. I was sad Keanu one year for Halloween, and I looked exactly like him. But
except for the mustache.
No, I did the whole thing, man. The whole thing. I got like a big bag of like Dave's Killer Bread, and I was just like eating it, like sitting at places like. But yeah, it's so much fun, and I know like you made that joke about Taylor, but like I often, before she came on, I often felt like bad cop.
Yeah. No, it's true. I only said to get a chuckle out of her.
Huh?
Mm-hmm.
Someone used to do it. The couple of episodes that I came on, I used to come in and just kind of throw a hammer every once in a while. That was always fun. I like doing that kind of thing. And to what we were talking about before, I think is interesting. Like talking about Hook, and how in like Hook, and how all of us are like, it's amazing what you're talking about. And I'm not going to drag the conversation into Spider-Man territory, but it's all the idea of like that if a movie's just made in the wrong time, it just isn't going to be seen the right way. Does that make any sense? Have you come across that for the podcast?
You're a little pixely at the front of that, but so no, you're good. I just I don't know how to properly answer it.
I think it was about Hook.
Yeah.
I heard a Hook
Okay.
and Spielberg in there.
I'm sorry. Am I
Okay.
good now?
Yeah, much better.
Okay. I'll try it. Basically, what am I trying to say? I can reword it better. Just the idea of movie. Sometimes like Hook got bad reviews, and I don't want to drag everything into Spider-Man territory. But we were just talking about this idea of how sometimes you make a movie that is just made in the wrong time and people don't want to see it. But then when you watch it 10 years later, like I just rewatched The Amazing Spider-Man with Andrew Garfield. I'm like, I get this movie. I see it. But also the fact that it came out when it came out, everything that everyone ever said about it makes perfect sense. So I was just wondering if there were other movies like that for you that kind of pop up.
Mine is the opposite direction most time. It's like I nothing will beat watching 40 Days and 40 Nights.
Oh, Jesus. My Lord.
Don't ever watch it. Don't give your money to it. It made me say that I hate HBO, and I have to take that statement back. I'm sorry.
HBO.
But I was like so
love
mad.
HBO. I would never say that about HBO.
I was so angry that it was even made. I didn't understand. Oh, if you want to hear me really go off, you listen to that episode. But
that's justified. That's a movie where like, you know, it kind of goes what we're talking about, where like there's straight on sexual assault, and it's played very nonchalantly, like played for a laugh, and that's early 2000s, like right. Early, maybe even late 90s, but it's still I
think it's early aughts. It was high school for
that
me.
Was like that was a shocker just in 2020.
I mean, American Pie was such a big deal.
I know, dude,
such a big deal.
Well, and you know, dude, and it was like it was normal to think that was like funny, and I think that's another what we bump into more than what you're talking about, Jake. Is what we bump into more often. I feel like of late is we have to grow up a lot, like in the flicks that we swore by. I'm like, get ready, idiots! Master of Disguise this weekend, and I'm just like cracking my shit up, and I'm like, oh, he's brown facing it pretty hard here, huh?
Right.
Like, I'm like, great. Well, you know, like, and it's not like I was saying that was like masterful cinema, but it's a DVD I like watched till it was scratched to shit as a kid and loved. You know what I mean? Like me at 28, I'm like, I'm not allowed to say I love that. Like I like, you know what I mean? Like it just, you shouldn't like, you should make the conscious decision, but doesn't mean the hard part is I love the Turtle Club scene. So, you know, you run into these things, but no, it's tough. Especially those early 2000s where everybody's so edgy. Like it was really cool to be as edgy as possible.
Right.
And nostalgia is a big thing too. That's like I feel like sometimes when we're all three like trying to go to bat for a movie, it's like one of us clearly has a very strong connection to it, and then we're like, no, you're wrong. This movie is so good. I have a strong connection to Baby Genius. And I did that episode with Katie.
That's funny, Taylor.
And, I loved it. I think there is nothing funnier than babies being geniuses. Like
we were just talking. Me and Luke were just talking privately. I introduced him to High Fidelity, and I was like, I cannot wait for this guy to watch High Fidelity. And I was 10 years late to that whole situation. So
me too.
That was sad.
If I saw High Fidelity when I was like 12, I would have been like, girl, like with Jack Black, and being like, what a funny movie. Like this guy talking all raw about relationships and shit. Oh my God.
This is how adults act. And then it's like, no, adults should not act this way. This is the point.
Reckless Records, Chicago. I get it. You know, I've got the album.
I have one to your question, Jake, and it's one that's actually been rescued by history as pretty recently. So one of my favorite movies of all time is Boys in the Band. And that movie came out in 1970, and it was based on the play, which it's my favorite play of all time. And it's just a bunch of like sad gay guys that get together for a birthday party, and their dysfunction just destroys everything. It's Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf with gay people.
Sure.
And it's so amazing. And I'm like, it makes me mad. It's so good. But when it came out, 1970, it was after Stonewall, and nobody wanted to see self-hating gays anymore. So everybody was like, no, we're done. We're not gonna be doing this anymore. This sucks. We're gonna do Pride now. Like let's do it. We're gonna be happy. And which is totally understandable, because the vibe was like, no, it's the 70s now. Like let's like have a good time. But the tragedy of that is that it really is a wonderful time capsule of pre kind of Stonewall feelings, like just before that was about to happen, like the isolation and the kind of like non-political correct talk and all that stuff. It's just so fascinating to look back on. And just like last year, there was a remake, and I think the remake is really fascinating. That was on Netflix, because it's so tender. I was reading interviews about it, and they like went out of their way to kind of so it's not as intense, kind of show that these people are actually friends, which you do get a sense in the original, but in this there was definitely a drive to be like, no, relationships between men, these platonic relationships can actually be very sweet, and you can show that in subtle ways, and like they have flashbacks that kind of make things a little bit sweeter. And I think that was kind of like a coming to terms with the fact that, like, yes, that kind of thing, we want to pretend that there was a time that that gay people didn't hate themselves, but the fact of the matter is that it did happen.
Right.
And I think that movie just shows a full circle. Like, just, we're recognizing it, we're making it a little bit sweeter to fit with our current times, but we are still recognizing that happened. And I watch that movie like every year. I love the original so much, and I would recommend the new one as well.
Who's in the original?
Oh, I don't know off the top of my head, but it was like the
sure.
original cast from the play.
Cool.
That's the same thing, because the revive is actually from the revival that was the play.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Isn't the revival Sheldon? Is it Sheldon in that?
Yes.
Sorry.
Mm-hmm. Jack
He's really
Quint.
good.
He has a real name, right?
He's
Jim
perfect.
Parsons.
Yeah.
Right.
What is his name?
Good.
Mm.
Yeah, I don't want to be like Sheldon.
Spock is in it.
Zachary
and
Quint.
Yeah. Zachary Quinto.
Well,
Yes,
you're selling
thank
it.
you.
I want to watch both of them. That's great. And this is just the kind of thoughtful analysis you get on Bad Movie Brunch.
Well, it's an excuse to watch stuff. Like, it really is.
Yeah.
Like on one hand, like Katie talked about it earlier, like the relationship aspect of it, where you have a built-in conversation with a friend, like as part of your week. And yeah, we pay for SoundCloud to put stuff out. And it's actually like, kind of work to watch stuff, especially when you don't like the flick. But you have a built-in conversation with a friend, and then you also I completely lost the thread of what I was saying.
That you have
100%.
Just that it's an excuse to do it every week.
But what did Katie just say before that?
It's an excuse to rethink your thought. Like, think about why movies that are bad can be good.
No, it's not it.
Analyze things from a different point of view, and just an excuse to watch these movies.
That's what it is. Excuse to watch stuff.
Movies.
Because it's like, like you're never, if you want to be a writer, and Jake's a writer, I'm a writer, Katie's a writer, Taylor is a filmmaker, producer, performer, like all the stuff. And you never are gonna, if you just stop and don't like take in any new stuff and see what the flow of like, not only new content, but like good and bad stuff. Like if you sit and only watch Oscar nominated movies, you're really gonna, in my opinion, have a skewed view. So instead we get to dig into everything. It's like, oh, let's watch a prestige movie and see how that is. But let's also talk about why, if Amazing Spider-Man 1 were the first movie Spider-Man movie you've ever seen in your life, it's actually not that bad.
Right.
Which is tough for me to admit.
Yeah.
So yeah, we get an excuse to devour film, which is something we like to do anyway, but all across the spectrum.
Well, and
it's you.
Oh,
go ahead.
No, you please.
Oh, I was just gonna say that it's also like you kind of are getting to understand, like, you're learning what makes a good sandwich. Basically, it's like the more you watch whatever in every genre, which is why I think it's also great between the three of us. We're really just trying to figure out what's making it bad, and can we point it out? Can we all agree on like the point that really threw us off, or
What's it missing?
what's the great piece? Katie keeps bringing up, I feel like, on the episodes, heart, and that sticks with me because it's like heart is also something that you can't always really understand why, if like something makes you feel a certain way, and it's really hard to figure that out.
You can tell when you're watching like a soulless movie, even if it costs a lot of money, even if it's good actors. Yeah,
and you're like, and then you look for why. We like, I think we talk about this in Rough Night. Is like I kind of had opinions on why I think it didn't have the heart that we were missing, and Katie was talking about a little different things, and that's another piece. You're like learning. You're just learning more and more about like how can I figure out what I like and how I create as a better artist as well.
100%. Yeah, I always find that it's just as fun to watch bad movies because usually there's at least something to steal. You know what I mean? Like there's always a cool move. There's usually like some move somewhere. And I'm like, this is a terrible movie, but I really like that move.
And that's why our different tastes like link up, because like we all have that for different genres. Because the show was conceived on me like fighting for like comic book movies, like Batman v Superman.
Superman. You have to say it.
I was way ahead of that Snyder curve. The world,
very
true. The world has bowed to me like Superman kneeling in front of Lex Luthor.
We were all there in real time with you, Luke. Like this is a timestamp to say that you were 100% ahead of the curve on it.
I'm not always right. Believe me, I'm wrong more than I'm right. But I have that about comic book films. Katie has it about animation. Taylor has it about like
rom-coms.
Taylor sure loves her. Like, I mean, one time Taylor's really like, you're gonna watch P.S. I Love You, and I'm like, God damn it. I was just like, I wanted to like it so bad because I love you so much.
You like sad comic book or sad coming of age,
make those heroes
which is where we
hurt.
Mix, and then I'm like, I like sad love movies and sad coming of age movies.
I'm like season 3 of Daredevil. Have you ever watched it?
And Katie and I are like animation, kids movies. We love to see it.
There's a definite Venn diagram between all of us, but there's also different things that we bring to the table.
Also, I feel like someone just asked a sweet question to us.
We gotta answer some of these questions for sure. Is there a movie that all three of you think is the gold standard or wowed you guys? Top of the pops. What do you got?
That we've covered on the show, or like just like in the past year, because we do our like our favorite movies of the year episode every year and stuff, and sometimes we really do line up. Katie, what do you think? You got any off the top of your head?
Off the top of my head, I know you were talking when we were doing like the tech check. We were talking about I don't know if you feel this way, Taylor, but Luke, you brought up Lady Bird, and that was one that when I saw it, I felt very seen.
That's
for
the
sure.
one.
Absolutely.
That's one.
Cool.
That's one that comes to mind.
That's a great pick. And it's actually what I thought of too. I was like, that's a movie I throw down and I'm like, I know that's the Venn diagram again. It's like, you've got the Catholic kids for me, Katie and Taylor. And then you've also got like the theater kids. And then you've also got like, the coming of age story that just breaks my heart in two and leaving something behind. Like it's definitely got it all. Friggin' A24 does these beautiful like hardback bound scripts, and they just released like today picture, and it was Lady Bird and then 20th Century Women, which is also like an insanely good like screenplay alone, but that movie is just unreal.
Well, in 20th Century Women, they the dude lived in Rogers Park, right?
We used to see that kid, and I can't remember his name, but he's phenomenal in the flick. He's like opposite Elle Fanning in his little sector.
Also, those are both Greta Gerwig.
Yeah, I love me. Well, but she didn't make that. She's in it.
But she's in it.
Yes. Yeah. But that kid used to come into the new 400 all the time. Like that kid was a real cinephile. I'd see him on the train sometimes.
We all agreed on Promising Young Woman.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, Jam Doodles likes Lady Bird.
Yeah, Jam Doodles.
Greta for the win. Movie. That's my sister. Hi, Allie.
Hi, Allie.
A movie you'd never review that you love.
Well, there's movies that we have reviewed and then dropped and will never see the light of day ever again. We have a few of those.
There's
true.
The one that the lost episode that I really wish we were able to retrieve is Jake. I love talking to you about 8 Crazy Nights. And that movie doesn't land for me at
Oh,
all.
yeah.
But I really love talking to you about it. But in terms of like a movie that you'd never review that you love, I don't know. I feel like we're pretty. It's usually just things that aren't highly, or things that are highly reviewed. We usually try to stay away from. Like, there was one that we were thinking about doing. It was a low-rated Miyazaki movie, and I was like, I can't. Even though that movie was really bad, I was just like, I can't do Earwig and the Witch because I love Castle in the Sky with all my heart. All I want to do for my birthday this year is drink red wine and cry watching Castle in the Sky. That's all I want to do.
I think
probably wouldn't do any Miyazaki.
I feel like there are flicks where I don't want to review them because like I'll get so heated if like I know there are movies that like I actually can't hear your differing opinion, so I won't even bring it up because I'd rather just have it. You know what I mean? Like sometimes
I've
I would
seen
see
this
that,
in real time as well.
Yeah, where I'm like, well, we don't want to talk about it then. Yeah,
like,
one time
conversations end in the lobby. Yeah, tell them.
Oh well, one time when we were at the movie theater and stuff, and his like customer came out like talking shit about La La Land, and I was just like, and kind of just like walked away. I was like, because there's nothing I can do for you because I'm not gonna try. I'm not going to change your mind. I'm not going to sit here and try and change your mind. Like I just enjoy it so much that you can just go about your day and I'll go about mine. But so I probably wouldn't cover that one. And then that turned into its own divisive pariah with the Oscars. Like, couldn't it? I almost wish nobody would have seen it, and then we could just have this wonderful thing without some of the tarnish. But that's a lovely flick. What about you?
Probably P.S. I Love You. I don't think we did it ever.
We didn't do it.
No, I wouldn't.
Really?
There's a lot of like. There's a lot of rom-coms that it's the same thing with comedy where you're like, that trope's really bad. That's really, really bad. And I just don't, I know that I love it because I watched it when I was younger and it was my comfort movies. But now I'm like, I can't believe you like that.
Yeah, you can't out maybe that's the other way. It's like you can't out yourself as a fan of a certain movie. So it's like I don't want people to know. Which in answering it, I'd probably give away, but it's like
no, I hear you. We were just talking about 8 Crazy Nights. I did a kind of like an Adam Sandler / all the movies from middle school and high school thing with our buddy Christian Gradelli, who was on the show, and just the straight casual homophobia, just like peppered in through everything nonstop all the time. It was just like I was hyper aware of it at the time. But just I was able, it was easier to be like, fine, I'll just watch Little Nicky and kind of like, whatever. But now it's just hard to watch some of that stuff, especially like I can sit here and defend Adam Sandler really hardcore. And then there's just that shit, just like that you can easily just take out, but they're just filling space in a script to try and make you laugh. And it's
weird.
There's nothing funny about it.
Watching 8 Crazy Nights, that is a lost episode, unfortunately, because we had like audio issues, but like, that's one that I will like, I remember being in like 5th or 6th grade and being like, that is the peak of funny. There's not going to be anything funnier than that to me. Like at that time, like, and having to go back and watch it, it's like, that's another genre. Ooh, holiday movies. I'm a sucker for those. I will forgive the shit out of them. But sometimes watching those flicks in adult goggles is very, very
Baby
difficult.
Genius holds up though, just so everyone knows.
Which one?
Baby Genius is not anti-Semitic.
No, is it or isn't it? Are you?
I have never seen it. I don't know where they drop these Jew jokes like in the middle of everything.
There's some parts that are like
you haven't seen Baby Geniuses? Oh my god.
No, I was just like, I haven't seen it either. I'm saying, are there anti-Semitic jokes in Baby Geniuses that I don't know about?
I'm making that up. I'm just throwing things around. The babies just hate them. Just hate the Jew.
Oh goodness. Also, along with Miyazaki stuff and not reviewing that, anime in general, I try to stay away from bringing to the table, with the exception of course, Unico, because Unico was so weird. Pokemon, we did watch Pokemon, but that was Pokemon's different. But like, I don't want, for one thing, when picking these movies, I try to steer away from things that will make us all miserable. And I know that like anime can be very divisive, and I feel like a lot of anime is harder to defend in some respects, and I'm not prepared to have a lot of those conversations, so I usually don't bring that kind of stuff to the table, especially if it feels very precious to me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Honestly, you've had to do a lot of movies recently that you loved as a child that like you can't defend anymore.
It happens a lot.
Yeah.
But I mean, that just comes with the territory of kind of what we've been talking over. And there's, like there's also movies that, like Katie said, like if we haven't had to cover anything too purposefully emotional, like, you know what I mean?
Right.
We don't sit and watch like I Spit on Your Grave and whatnot. Like,
Right.
like where we like just like you watch just horrible shit happen for the sake of it.
Right.
And I bet I'd take it all back if I worked for one of those people.
Well, no, and that's the other thing too, is like we're usually lifting movies up, but some things just are unforgivable.
Jack,
Yeah.
oh Jack.
Oh, hello.
Oh,
Hi, Jack.
Hi there.
welcome. Jack,
This is fascinating.
what's your experience with 8 Crazy Nights?
I avoided that
Crazy.
one. I've
Really?
never seen it. Yeah.
I saw
mean,
that shit 4 times in the theater, Jack.
I
We're
was
the same age.
really, yeah, we are. You really got the Adam Sandler bug. I never really got the Adam Sandler bug. I'm like,
enough.
oh, I know where this lives in the world, but I don't need it.
He's trying to talk about it until I start quoting it. I know what he's doing. You're
What?
not slick. You're gonna
What?
keep bringing up 8 Crazy Nights. I keep trying to get past it. I'm like, no, and but he won't. He keeps bringing.
You know
up
what this conversation
quote it.
needs more of? 8 Crazy Nights.
He knows. I want to do a Whitey Duvall voice desperately.
I didn't think that. I'm just saying, Jack and I grew up. We have very similar backgrounds. We're Vermont Jews, Luke. So I just wanted to know, both from the same time period. We were around in high school when the movie was dropped.
Not only are we Vermont Jews, but both of our moms are religious education directors of
Yes,
Hebrew
we
schools.
were both principals at the Hebrew school.
Yeah.
I'm
Hebrew
chomping at the
school.
bit to quote it. I want to quote it. so bad.
That's more than fine. I do think we should do an episode on it. We can someday, because I don't remember the last time I watched it. To be
Probably
honest.
with me.
Probably with you, because it's just sometimes it's really nice to see that stuff animated. That's all. That's the whole thing with that movie, is like
the animated turds getting like rocketed out of the deer's butts.
No, or
That does look good
poop in the
animated.
teeth. There's a lot of poop
Yeah.
in that movie.
Wow, how did I
Um,
miss this movie?
Oh no!
Yeah, but the soundtrack is pretty
Darn it.
fuego.
And it's also this weird reality where there's a 3-story tall ice carved Santa Claus, and right next to it is a
And-
3-story tall ice carved menorah, and everything
Yeah.
is half and half in this town. And
It
there's like Jewish dancing and Jewish sounding music, and it's very Hanukkah-y, and it was nice to see because all we had was Rugrats. So
That is all we had. That
It was
was the only
Rugrats.
animated Jewish thing that we had. We had Rugrats
And
Passover
Simpsons.
and Rugrats Hanukkah and the Krusty the
Krusty.
Clown.
It's unfair because there are like hundreds of thousands of Christmas movies, and most of them aren't good. But at least I get to watch them all. Like I feel so bad that you guys.
it's
You know
the
what I
real
mean?
money.
Like
There's
I'm
no
telling
money
you
in
though.
Hanukkah movies.
There's-
so
I
there's
much
guess
not.
money.
not. I
There
guess
really
not.
no.
Well, it sounds like you guys want them pretty bad, and
I mean,
Sandler
well, that's
obviously
just-
No, when
obviously
you're a
just
kid, you want them. That's
When
the
you're-
whole point of it.
When you're a kid, there's some books that it's that very thing. It's like, oh, check this out. There's this book called Hey, I don't know, something about a Hanukkah bush. I don't even remember. It's like there's no.
Sandler-
I think it's called There's
These
No Such
pirates are
Thing as
Jewish.
a.
These
Hey!
comedians are
Yeah,
Jewish.
Jewish Pirates of the Caribbean. There's
all
this
got
other
that
one
for
called
Christmas.
There's No
For-
Such Thing as a
for
Hanukkah
graduation.
bush. Sandy Koufax. It's not Sandy Koufax. That was just the name that came into my head. But there's a book
Sandler
to
taught
that
a-
effect.
Sandler taught a Catholic boy like me more than I ever knew about Hanukkah and Passover with 8 Crazy Nights and Uncut Gems. Like I was like, whoa! Like I swear.
Yeah.
And I feel like, and I know there's not much in there, but it's like, it's exactly what you're talking about, where you can flip on like a million movies and see it like a Catholic mass and a flick, but to
Right.
see like a Passover dinner, I don't know that experience. I'm from a bunch of Midwestern Catholics. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
Uncut Gems is very special to have that kind of thing for. I feel the
I didn't know
same
what any
way
of that
where it's
was.
like just like I really like that character and he's a real asshole and I like
Yeah,
it
well, that
plays
happens a
out,
lot.
you know?
I like a nice anti-hero.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh my gosh, I'll never forget seeing that movie at the theater. It gave me such a heart attack. And again, I had talked about this on one of our episodes. My brother fell asleep throughout most of the movie right until the very end when that happens. And it was just like, how could you don't even
You know,
understand the emotional roller coaster
Oh.
that the rest of the theater just went through. And
I fully believe I know that movie better than the Safdies. I fully believe that. Like, at
I
this
watched
point,
it with you. That was the last movie Luke and I watched before he moved to LA. And we had Grant there as well. It was the three of us.
Aw, the kitty speaks.
Yeah, that's a fun one because I just remember everyone sits there biting their nails, and I was riding it like a roller coaster. I was laughing very.
Oh, that's
it was
funny.
So uncomfortable.
It was so funny.
Oh my god, dude! I can chug that like water. Like that's what's so funny is like everybody's like, oh, why? I can't believe what is gonna happen. I'm like, I hope that he gets popped and friggin' they smash in the cases and steal all the jewelry.
Lies. The first time Luke watched that movie,
Saw it in theater, and I was
by himself,
didn't
and
sit
I
right.
picked him up, and he was just like, I don't know why my friends like this.
I was like,
This is how Luke works. He watches a movie once, and then he's like, what if I give it another try? Which is, I think, Bad Movie Brunch that's part of it. And then he watches it over and over and over again until he loves it. He loves it.
That is kind of a unique superpower that Luke has, is that he'll talk himself into liking the movie. like Suicide Squad definitely comes to mind, where you saw it a number of times in the theater, more than anyone that I know. 3 times? Okay. And I just remember being like really impressed by that. Like, wow, paying that much money to see that movie.
I dug it.
Justice too, right? You saw Justice League a lot, didn't you?
That's a bad movie. So yeah, I did that, but I never paid to see that one. There are movies that I actually
watched
didn't like that
together
much
as well. That was a mess.
There are movies that I actually like didn't even like that much that I've paid to see a couple times. Like just because I'm like, if it's a comic book movie, like I definitely paid to see X-Men Apocalypse like twice. And I was like, that movie's bad.
I have a question about that, and I'm really glad that you brought that up. Because what is your experience of paying to see a movie and getting to see a movie for free, and it turns out to be a real stinker? Because there's it changes the dynamic a bit. I mean, I've been in a movie theater where I was enjoying the hell out of a movie that I thought was terrible, Jurassic World, and I didn't pay to see it, but I'm laughing my ass off, and everyone around me is just like really they look like they all want to enjoy this film, but they're not having the time that I'm having with it. So what's the bias there? And what's the difference between I paid to see this movie, I'm going to try to enjoy the hell out of it as much as I can, or I didn't pay this to see this film, it's garbage. Oh man, I am on board with this right now.
I think it depends on the movie, because I got to see Runner for free in college, and that was horrible. Well, like, I'd rather just not have gone.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
that's a great reference. That case. I like that.
Oh, thank you.
Because it's Justin Timberlake, right?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I like that. I like that.
Just his acting chops.
I just like those deep cuts. That's a real deep cut. Like, yeah, I don't know from Runner.
Mm-hmm. I think a lot of it has to do with franchises.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're in a movie theater full of a bunch of people who are expecting something, good luck. You're the lucky one. Just know that it's like, if you haven't watched any, I feel like that about Star Wars, because I've watched them all, but every time I go in a new one, I'm like, what happened again? And then I'm like, oh, right. I'm like, they're flying. Party.
Yeah.
And then, because I'm like, but then everyone else like, it's like a cat growling.
There are ways to have even when I worked at a theater, like if I was seeing it at the theater for free, it was probably like very, very rarely was it a Hobbs and Shaw where we were watching it literally just because we had the movie. Like, we're like, you know what I mean? Like a lot of times if I liked the flick, I'd go pay to see it anyway. And then if we had it, I'd watch it again at the theater. Mm-hmm. Like I paid to see Uncut Gems a handful of times, like, and we did have it. I'm probably, America loves me. I'm God's perfect consumer. Because I also like believed in that. I was like, I want movie theaters to succeed, so I'll give movie theaters my money. I want this movie to do well, so I will pay to see the movie, and multiple times if I really enjoy it. I don't know why. I just I don't know. It's the American dream in me. I just believed in something.
Luke bought a pizza that had Spider-Man on it. So on the box,
well, one
just
time,
to buy.
Pizza Hut drew me in a time or two with Spider-Man advertising. I won't lie, like, but that's what I'm here. That's what I'm here for.
I'm also gonna bandwagon with you guys. Speaking of Spider-Man, I had better things to do when The Amazing Spider-Man came out, but by the time I got around to it, really enjoyed it. That's a fun movie.
That's exactly what they're there for. I'll be honest with you, dude. Like, I absolutely like shaking to my core despise that first movie when it came out. Like, because I was so like shaped. Like, my childhood was so like. My childhood is the orange lensed aesthetic of Raimi's first Spider-Man. Like, that's everything to me. So when they did it, I was like, well, obviously I'm going to pay and see it because I love Spider-Man. Like, you know what I mean? And so I'm sitting there watching it and I'm like, well, that's not even that different. Like, all you did was just put a lens on it. It's like, so I'm like, why wouldn't you at least make a different flick? Like, so by the time they got around
It's
to
not MJ.
Well, it's not, but it's Gwen, and like, but they do it the same exact way, except for they were like liked Nolan, and by the time they got, so they're like, let's do it Nolan style, and by the time they got around to it, it was like already late for that because Rises was already almost happening. So like, but I enjoyed eventually, like with distance, like what they ended up being like, but I couldn't like it then. Or I was on the other end of the spectrum when everybody pivoted and like, I like Amazing Spider-Man, but that second one sucked. I was like, oh, this is what I was looking for. I was like, he's web swinging a bunch in this one. He doesn't have to line up cranes to swing. I don't want to know why he swings on buildings and why he's propelled. I want to see him swing like a friggin' comic book character. Stuff like that. Sorry, I'm getting heated again. But yeah, Jack.
Oh, that's good. That's important. Thank you.
Do you know how hard it's been for me to be like, it's not your fault, Andrew Garfield. Like, I have to grow up all the time. I'm like, you poor bastard. Like, I'm so sorry that happened to you, and I was part of the problem because you did want it. You wanted it, man. And
he was so good in The Social Network.
He's good in everything. That's the hard part to admit. It's like,
for that one.
Now it's not. It was
the hard thing
except
to
for that one.
No,
movie.
he's great in that movie. He's great in that movie, Jack.
Silence?
Under the Silver Lake. Under the Silver Lake. That's what you're talking about.
Silver Lake.
He carries that film. So
is that the real estate one?
He has no choice.
No, that's the one with like it's like 2.5 hours of him just going crazy and solving codes.
I ask you this all the time. I go, is that the real estate movie?
What real estate?
It may as well be.
He had
there is no real estate movie.
I think he had a movie with Michael Shannon. There's no way I imagined this trailer. There's no way I made it up.
Wait,
where they had
Michael
like a
Shannon?
Yeah, they had like it was like a hard-hitting real estate scheme
My
movie.
son, what have ye done?
No, I'm telling you, it was definitely a thing. And I remember seeing the trailer.
Homes.
Yes, there it is. Woo!
I genuinely just finished up my Andrew Garfield Film Festival. I actually had one. I accidentally happened to have one. I have a couple movies left to watch.
Of 99 Homes in front of you.
1 second.
Babe, you're the only human being that can even reference this.
I can't wait.
The plot is a little long. I'll see if I can find a shorter one. Give me one second.
If the word realtor shows up, just look for the word realtor.
No. I found it immediately. A recently unemployed single father struggles to get back his foreclosed home by working for the real estate broker who was the source of his frustration. Yes.
Michael
Dark
Shannon's
real
creepy
estate.
in everything he does. He could just mail a letter and it would be the creepiest thing.
That bit that he did of reading that sorority letter was just
I don't know that.
incredible.
Oh, it's a really good one. We'll send it to you.
It was like a college humor thing.
Yeah, I had no idea about that.
Did you really think he was bad in that movie, Jack? Or do you just not like the movie?
Well, I think
Genuine question.
No, the answer is everything about that movie was a genuine, it's like stepping on a landmine every step of the way. Like 1 foot after the other is 2 hours of putting your feet on landmines. And unfortunately, Andrew Garfield has to walk that, and I watched it.
My dude, you have no idea how hard you are selling me on this flick right now.
I
like,
love
that
this
sounds,
movie.
That
I'm
sounds
a big
awesome.
fan. I got to rewatch Imaginarium.
I gotta say, I used to think Garfield kind of
I'm
a
big
Streisand,
Under the Silver Lake fan. I don't know how that happened.
Is that movie like in a lighthouse kind of way that he's going crazy?
It's a movie that just really gets under your skin.
Oh,
I don't know if it's like Lighthouse. It's more sprawling, like I think
it wants to pull a lighthouse, but then it's like, I want to pull a lighthouse, but nah, gotcha.
No,
It
it's
just says
that.
gotcha.
Oh, no.
It's
does
that
he
thing
sound
that I
like
talk.
that?
No, it's that.
Was
thing
that your
I-
Garfield impression? Because if that's how he sounds in the movie,
Luke loves it.
That's me as the stoned producer who wrote that movie, who's
this guy
very,
who did-
very tired of writing
Alright.
movies in Hollywood.
He's the
Because
yeah.
that's what I got from watching that. It's someone
It's
who
the
is
It Follows
clearly
guy.
exhausted from the process and just wants to fuck with the audience. And
Yeah.
I'm not really a fan of that. Like, I don't like it when a movie takes it out on the audience.
you don't want to watch Suspiria remake?
Well, it's like Katie was saying earlier about movies with heart, and you want it's a movie. There are some movies that just like I don't know what the hell I'm watching, but there's so much love and care that went into this, and I can't think of a good example right now. But you know what those movies are.
I
Oh,
do
my
know
God.
films where like they're we often talk about just movies that are
Let's take Hook for example.
well
I mean, there you go.
All roads lead back to Hook.
yeah, where I can
Oh.
tell you all of the bad things about this movie, but you can tell that the people who made it are for real and this is what they wanted to do and they did an amazing thing, as opposed to the people who are like, let's just make some cash and do this thing already. Which actually leads me to my next question for you guys. I'm sorry, Luke, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I do have a question for you
Cut him
guys.
No, cut me.
Okay, so I this isn't like real news. This is like headlines that I've been reading, but there are two headlines that I thought were interesting. One was that someone asked Tarantino, "Hey, what about a Reservoir Dogs
Not
remake?"
making another movie.
And he was like, "Nah, we're good, thank you. I don't need to remake Reservoir Dogs." And then someone pitched Spielberg, maybe we should do Jaws again, and Spielberg was like, "We are never going to talk of this ever again. Never say this again." And again, I don't know if those are the actual details, but that's kind of what I got from it.
It's like, let me make West Side Story, okay?
Well, yeah, well, how do you guys
Don't
feel
remake
about
mine. I'll remake the
Side
classic
Story.
cinema here.
I guess you guys beat me to the punch because that's kind of what I'm asking. Like, these guys are the ones that are not Tarantino as much as Spielberg, who's like, follow the cash, remake the remake, do the IP, do what you got to do. Don't touch my shit because I'm a cinephile. I'm a.
So we're gonna see Tarantino does Jaws.
I mean, maybe he did. Maybe
He wanted to
Spielberg
do
would
Star
like
Trek.
that.
Margot's feet.
I was just
Sorry, I
wondering
was
if
just
you
going
guys-
to the next logical conclusion.
I was wondering if you guys had anything to say about that, or if that was just kind of harumph in general.
I think I'm over remakes. I'm not gonna lie. I would like to continue to see twists on different things and new material and things like that. But that's also has a lot to do with more of. Sometimes I'm like, what is my baggage to all of that? And then I'm like, Shakespeare is great and wonderful, and then people will be like, let's put it in outer space, and
Sure.
it's like,
Sure.
well, okay, do we need to do it? Probably not. But like the remake that you said of the Scottish play is like, okay, if it's 3 levels and it's different, all for it. But if we're just gonna remake it to remake it, do we need to? Jurassic
As you
World's
like
gonna
it
take
in
over.
space, yeah, like on Mars or whatever. That idea, yeah.
Well, that's what you
Yeah.
were talking about Sleep No More, tying that
Yep.
back together.
I knew it was. Oh, thank
Yeah.
you.
I went to that and I did it wrong. Like I went to every room where
Oh.
everything had just happened. So I was walking around for 2.5 hours going, oh boy, I want to enjoy this, but I feel like I'm doing Sleep No More wrong.
Wrong. Oh,
It was
perfect.
I felt so bad because a friend of mine paid for the tickets and I wanted to do it. I still want to do it again and do it right, but it's like, man, that's too bad.
You just took a left where you should have taken a right.
Exactly.
It's
I French
actually
fried when I
perfect.
should have pizza.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the worst.
You go
Not gonna have a
left,
good time.
you goes
Not that time.
right.
That's too bad. Well, I'm glad you knew what I was talking about. I wasn't talking out of my ass. 'Cause
Oh yeah.
I knew
Yeah,
that
yeah.
was real.
You guys were on the same wavelength.
Yeah.
I'm so glad we came back to that because it was important to put that together.
Yeah.
Exactly. The bones or the skeleton's money.
Right.
Give Tim Robinson more stuff. That's what I want.
Well, the new
Speaking of-
season's coming out.
Oh, speaking of Bones, we have a question from Bones,
Oh, yeah.
who wanted to know who listens to the critics anymore, and I want to say that ties back in with what you were saying about some of your criteria of how you pick films, that you don't like to pick movies with a lot of reviews. And can you speak to that a little bit more, or do you avoid reviews altogether when looking at this, or do you save that until afterward and then you piece together, all right, why was this a bad movie, or this was a good movie? Why did it tank against other stuff it was up against?
Katie, you want to go?
I will sometimes, for a while, for a little bit, we were doing one of our bits was that we would read ridiculous reviews that people had written in like serious publications about these movies that was just like not necessary, just like griping to gripe to a massive audience, and that was kind of fun. I will sometimes watch a YouTube review before we go on, just because sometimes it's difficult to remember details, and also because I am genuinely interested. But a lot of the time, I feel like most reviews are just like, "This thing is bad because it's bad," and it's like, well, that's not really our vibe. Like we're more like, let's see the good in this, or like when we did Home on the Range, I couldn't for the life of me find one person with anything positive to say about Home on the Range. And it's a beautiful looking movie. People clearly worked very hard on it. Not one good thing. And that's also interesting, just to be like, wow, the internet is a crazy place. And I guess we're going to have to be the ones to say something nice about Home on the Range.
I think too, a lot of critics all look the same and are the same age and come from the same background. So you're kind of like, sometimes critics, it's just the people, it's exactly what you're saying. It's the people who have the power, not the people who like, and that's when it's great. Like, I'll keep going back to Hook because it's the easiest one to think about, where it's like, ha ha, we like it. And now it's like, it's like Heather's, like, oh no, we love it, haha, in your face. And so I like that. I also think it's kind of nice to be, it's like what actually makes an audience love it versus what makes a critic love it, all of those things. But I certainly love to go. I'll like go look at Rotten Tomatoes. I'll look up lists. I'll be like, what's the top 10 worst movies of all time? And be ready to be like, you're wrong. Because it makes me angry. I'm with you.
Yeah, I think we sort of have to at first, just to give ourselves like a basis. Like if something's over like a certain percentage of like on Rotten Tomatoes, we actually usually don't cover it unless we really want to talk about it. And then we just break our rule, to be honest, but it's not really that hard and fast. But so we kind of have to. I think something that happens to me is like either a movie comes out, it's highly rated, I go see it, or a movie comes out, I watch it, really dig it, Google it, and then if it has a high review, I'm like, nice. And if it has a low review, I'm like, well, that's okay. I like that flick. So it's just a gamble, and it's like we're all so used now, I think, because of the podcast to like, we're not just watching for funsies anymore. We can like we can form our own opinion without having to worry about like
what the mass is.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, and not only that, but like we know how to defend the things we like. Sure. Like we don't just like things for no reason anymore. I feel like that's something that the podcast has given us too, with stuff like that. I think it's hard too, because like Hillary makes a great point, because at one point people were going to the newspapers to see what somebody said about the handful of movies that were out. But now it's like you kind of have to say something so sensational either one way or the other to even get a click in the first place. Mm-hmm. Because are you going to click an article? I'm not. Jake knows if he sends me a something that is playable, I won't click it. It's never going to happen. Like just because like I'm averse to it, and I'm not the only one that's averse to clicking a link here. So
well, just now I was telling you like the headlines. I didn't read the articles. You know what I mean? Like this Spielberg thing. You know,
and it's all clickbait just to get you to read the headline.
Right. Exactly. Like what Taylor was saying before about Tarantino releasing every single day that he's going to quit after the next movie.
A lot of news with Tarantino.
Very cool news because he just dropped a book.
He says. He's
I'm
like,
sorry.
I'm just going to make 10. There's 10 movies. That's it. 10.
Never mind.
No, what, Taylor?
No, I'm not a big fan. That's all. I don't like that man. But I also think, man.
I understand why.
Oh, I also think it's like when you look at what is up for an Oscar, there are a few that make it through that are not bought, that aren't bought through advertisement, that aren't bought for like not being forced for you to love. Which is also, then you're like, so it makes me feel great when we're truly indie filmmakers, where it's like, sometimes the best movies are the movies that were made for $10,000 and by a bunch of friends, or sometimes it's like, I think the more we can get behind independent filmmakers, the more that we can branch out from Jurassic World 8.
Well, I think people don't think about looking at a movie and being like treating it like a friggin' painting. You know what I'm saying? Where it's like because it's this form of art, I'm not going to treat it as subjective. It is yay or nay. Whereas I feel like a lot of other art forms don't have to adhere to that criteria at all. Like, so it's become like any prism you put it through. Like the Oscars aren't saying, like, they can't possibly be the best movies that are out. It's through that lens, and it's the best movies of these movies in this subsect, in this, you know what I mean? And
there's a
and
whole
this point in
campaign that
time-
goes into
Right.
just
totally and
advertising
that's nothing
that movie.
That's nothing on the Oscars. I think they've been doing a bit better in putting in more diverse and important flicks. They're definitely
Taking
doing
a bit
better.
to get there.
Yeah. And
Still
I
taking
used
a
to
lot.
I used to be very averse to them, to the whole thing. And like, I think they're making steps and, like nominating movies. But even then it's like, out of the high profile Hollywood budget movies, we're just now getting to a place where it's Promising Young Woman, Judas and the Black Messiah. And those are movies that are $100 million. Like maybe not 100, but you see what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
so if we're only at that spot in the Academy Awards, like it's going to be, it's just such a big pool of all this other cinema that nobody's even like getting eyes on.
Right. Katie?
That's a really good point, because my mom actually, she trained me really early on. She's like, her thought about it is that life's too short for bad movies, which we obviously don't agree with.
I disagree, Gary.
Disagree terribly. And but she also made the point that you need to work to find the good stuff. Like I remember going, to a tiny little theater in Ohio back when we lived there to see The Whale Rider. And that made such an impact on me that wasn't in like our usual theater, that my mom like read a review in the paper, was like, this is worth checking out. And we went somewhere to go experience it. And I feel like there are good critics who take chances on movies, and that's how you find out about them, is through like oftentimes on Deadline, like I'll find something that sounds interesting or weird and I'll make Erica watch it. And I wouldn't have known about that unless somebody wrote about it. And another interesting part of that question is that we're technically critics.
By nature.
I think that I more think of us as just a group of friends that gets together to talk about things that we like. But there is a critical element to it, and that's part of the fun. It makes, I don't know about you guys, but it makes me feel smart. It gives me this bit of serotonin that I don't get from other places. It's special, and it's just nice. It's fun.
We became the very thing we swore to destroy. You know what I mean? No, but it's true. By nature, by trade,
and
we are
the
actually
snake will
film
eat
critics.
itself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I also think that I think you have to demystify who gets to be a critic versus who's at the top to tell us what is all being all great, all wonderful. What's the best movie versus like, no, I think
Timekeepers.
Yeah. We just watched Loki. But like, why can't the movies that I love? In college, I felt this way where it was like, we were a predominantly musical theater program. I was on the acting track, and I was like falling in love with all of these plays that like do not get produced. I'll probably never see most of them because they are not popular, and I can still go into a musical and love it, be annoyed that it's not the play that I wish I could see, and then still appreciate the play that I love at the same time. And I think that it's like some art is sometimes a popularity contest too. And so it's like we get to then play what's popular for us and hope and pray that the $5 we spend on seeing whatever one deems a bad movie gets that kind of genre a little bit more oomph the next time.
Also, just the experience of watching a film really is like there's nuance to it. Of course, there's things that you're going to like and things that you don't like. And I'm sorry I'm about to force this into the conversation, but the trailer for Sing 2 just dropped. And
no, that's okay. I thought of you when I saw it.
Cool.
It aired,
Good.
and I was like, good for her. I got actually excited for you. I was like, this is a good trailer. I was like, whoa, they're coming back.
Oh, that's so funny.
My sister loves Sing, dude.
I brought it to the podcast because it is a movie with while it is a movie with a higher tomato rating, I think that movie is a disaster. I think it's a very messy ensemble piece. It doesn't make a lick of sense. I loved every minute of it. It's bad, but it's my favorite Illumination film by far, and I would have given my right arm to write that sequel. I absolutely would have. That's a major comfort movie.
Oh, I just had to look that up. Yeah, that movie looked nuts.
Let me tell you, Katie, if Taryn sings Elton John in the second one, I'll pay to see it twice.
Oh yeah.
You know who's not there though? And I'm very upset about this. There's no there's no Eddie. There's no John C. Reilly sheep.
No.
There's no John C. Reilly sheep. Why even go?
Well, then there you go. See, folks, we've been talking about the beating heart of a film, and that was John C. Reilly in the first one.
It was like his relationship with Buster was like the best part because like they were trying to keep track of all these different threads and they just couldn't because there's too many of them and you can't make an audience care about all of these the same way. It just doesn't have that kind of strength. And now in the second one, they're adding more, and I'm just like, what a disaster. I can't wait. I want to see it in theaters.
Is that Scarlett Jo too?
I think she is.
Yeah.
John C. Reilly's character in that, if I remember it correctly, it's like a very rare instance of where you have a character with like old money that is actually like wholesome, like kind of saves the day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's just
nice.
like, but I mean, it is only with money that he saves the day. Like
Daddy Warbucks kind of a thing.
If Mommy Warbucks.
Yeah.
Well, that movie
Warbucks.
trope is as old as time. I mean, that's doesn't get much older than that.
Yeah. He's a good fella.
The reason why I brought that up is that like the experience of watching that film is just like, oh, this isn't good. But I love it. And that's largely what we bring to the table is figuring out the things that don't work, the things that do, and appreciating on a different levels and getting excited about the things that we like.
Yeah.
And bringing that energy and being positive in that way.
Why limit yourself too? It's like if you're a person that says to yourself like, oh wow, I really like watching movies. You're not like a 1950s dad who's like, we're gonna put on Suits and see a movie once every 6 months. Like if you're somebody that likes flicks, and let's face it, like everybody has all these streaming services, everybody goes to the theater, and we'll be going back now that COVID's kind of hopefully running its course.
Well, because people are getting vaccinated.
Yeah, exactly.
People are getting vaccinated, if I can say it properly.
Yeah, say it. Say it, don't spray it. No. But it's like, why limit yourself? It's like, look, did I see a trailer for Alita Battle Angel and ever once think to myself like, holy shit, that movie's gonna change my life? No, but I paid to see it in a nice theater and watch an expensive, flashy thing. It's like, would you pay to see $1 million in a briefcase? You would. Do I want to see a fancy ass car drive past me on the street? Yeah, it's fun to look at. Why not? Like, don't just, you know what I mean? It's so strange to me. Or I'm only gonna go to this theater and see this flick as opposed to not branch out. Like
There are limits though, because again, not to be a Debbie Downer, but like I did have to for 1 year stop watching Marvel properties and Star Wars just to like take a break because it just felt like a lot. And I like that stuff. I do. But when things get to feel too much at once, it's just like,
there's
okay,
fatigue,
I need a break.
Yeah.
Oversaturation.
Not with me, but there is fatigue. I know it. Like I know it's very real, and I have it with other stuff.
Luke can watch the same movie for a whole month.
Sometimes, yeah. But I mean,
Aquaman.
I liked Aquaman.
Really?
That's
Aquaman. The best out of them all, I feel.
Aquaman is
This
another
is the
flick
end?
that's good in the theater, but Aquaman is a movie that is meant for home video because it's so meaty. Like those are movies that you can put on and it's like, oh wow, I can do anything, and there's 2.5 hours of beautiful TV going on while I do it. Like that's a nice movie. I like that. I don't know.
This is
Yes.
Oh. Yeah,
yes.
you are.
Oh, and let me throw you another little Easter egg is when Katie when you did a thing where Taylor was cast in the role of Mallory.
Yes.
Like it was like a what do you call it? I don't
it's an
even know.
animatic. we
Right.
have like a mini-sode
Long ago.
that is in production hell currently, and the lovely Taylor played the character of the Minnie's rival Mallory, who is a hall monitor.
Nice.
And they're both trying to, in the short, they're both trying to catch the same crook who stole books from the book fair. And it was just like this little thing that I wanted to put together because, like, I feel like, especially when because what I like to do, I like to write for kids. I like to write animated stuff. And that is very different. That's very difficult to convince people that you like to do it unless you show them. Like people like to see things. And I'm not an artist, so I can't really show people unless I find more talented people and try to put something together. So that was an effort to make a mini-sode of that. But I really would like to get that out there sometime just to give people a sense of what I'd like to do with the show. And it was so much fun putting that together at DePaul.
Well, like,
I'm really glad we got a chance to do that.
Like a super green, me and Marissa Lessman like did voice directing on it. Like it was so we hadn't really
when you guys did all
like we actually hadn't directed much, and like so that was really early in our producing stuff. So that's the fun stuff, is like when you do those little like side avenues, one day that's gonna come out and it's like, look at this other thing. Like, you know what I mean? I love so much that we all like work together. I really believe in that. Like whether it's the podcast or doing these side projects with one another.
Keep going. Sorry.
Just that I would like to get that finished at some point, because the short, it'll never be fully animated, but just to get the animatic just totally done and voice recorded and everything like that. Just because I really wanted to make something and to show something to people, and that was going to be my thing. And one day I hope to do it, and it truly is my dream project, and I hope one day to do more with it.
Jam Doodle's end to the world. Katie's a literal genius. Like, and Mini Noir is beautifully animated by Erica, but I've read a lot of Mini Noir, and it is top tier writing. Like in 5 years, when Katie's like Toast to the Town or whatever, you're not going to be surprised, and I'll be ahead of this like I was on the Snyder curve.
But Katie also has like the best range too, because I'll just like shout out Katie. Totally has written this great movie theater play that we got to read last year.
We did a table read of it on Zoom, like, which really like was a spirit lifter during the pandemic.
So good. And then Katie and I did this, like, I took her down this path of writing basically a YouTube character that's like super conservative and exploring the like life behind that. And then she was working on another Beanie Babies play, and like all of that is like, every time Katie comes to me with a new idea, I'm like, you're brilliant. I want someone to make your stuff now. So anyone watching,
it comes in two flavors. It's either like, oh, this thing about lesbians, or like, this thing for kids. That's all I got.
Either way, but those are two very like hungry audiences, Katie. You know what I'm saying? Now me, I'm like, so okay, there's this character and he's sad, right? Because this thing happened, and so they should talk about it. And then, so, you know, like already
first they should cry about it, and then they should probably laugh about it.
I've directed a couple people in these shots, and they can tell you it's like it's all pretty surface level. So no.
So how can we follow the growth of this project?
The growth of this project, again, it's currently like in production hell, but I can put more stuff on my my website, my portfolio. I have full scripts. I think the only one I probably won't put on there, I have one. I actually, Erica helped me recently, this is a new development, put together this cartoons pitch for WB for an episode of Mini I wrote a while back. Wow. And I probably won't put that one up, or the pilot, but I have a bunch others that I could probably put up. So I'll be sure to do that.
What is your website so that we can put that up? I
will write it in the chat.
Oh, and this is where Erica ran into a problem when I asked her.
No, I'm telling you,
Jake's when she was on the show. How do you spell Katie's last name?
I'll spell
it's it for you. It's a rough one.
Grotzinger.
Yeah, perfect.
You got it. Go there. Go
Strawberry.com.
Progress.
Yeah.
KathleenGrotzinger.com. Ooh, you got the .com. Fancy.
Yeah. No, she's not fucking around.
Oh.
So
I'm paid for that Squarespace money.
Jake, you're a writer that talks about prolificity. There's no writer more prolific than Katie. That she's got 30 different pots boiling. She needs like fucking 6 kitchens.
That's wonderful.
The one that I'm working on right now, actually, we talked about this during the tech check. I'm writing a roller derby thing, and that's actually why I learned how to skate. Is because I was like, maybe if I learn how to roller skate, that will make me a better writer. And probably not, but like it has been really fun.
Katie, look what I found.
I loved reading that too.
I found my donuts.
Yeah.
Got my donut wheels.
Awesome. But what I wanted to ask, I'm sorry to do this right now, but what kind of skates are you riding in?
Oh, I've got Rydell's. I've got the real thing.
Okay, cool.
But it's taken a lot of falling and breaking skates to get to that point. I had to build up to that point. So the thing is, folks, when I talk about my roller skating adventures, I talk about how I fall a lot, but I don't talk about what I'm doing. And that is that I'm going down ramps, very steep things. So there's a reason that I'm falling. I can stay upright if there's a flat surface and I have to turn, and that's no problem. But ramps is a whole other dangerous game.
You're
Are you doing that on quads?
What was that?
Are you doing that on quads?
Yeah, quads.
Oh my gosh.
People say
good
it's
for you.
I guess. I mean, when I got into roller skating, it was, pandemic related, the same thing that brings us all here today. But there were no more roller blades left in all of New York City. So I'm like, well, I guess I'm going with quad skates, and that's just how I'm doing it. So yeah, I do all my skating on quad skates.
Man, I just want to
For the
learn
viewers
how to
at home,
dance.
quads is when you have 2 wheels in the front, 2 wheels in the back, not 4 in a line. Those are inlines or blades.
As
For the
featured.
record-
Blades versus
Quads.
skates.
Quads.
Quads are
Four.
skates. Blades are
Yeah.
inlines. Quads are skates.
I learned it as blades and skates.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you can think of it as
Skates
blades
for
and skates.
4
Yes.
and the
Yeah.
2, what you say, quads and
Yeah.
blades.
These
and-
guys are real hot shots. They're
Yeah.
like in.
Yeah, I'm
they're
gonna say
in.
skates,
They're in
okay?
the
In the
community.
game.
So it's like quads. You got your inlines, your
Do real life
knee pads and
Well,
stuff like that. You
Do
know?
real life quad skaters just hate my movie Break because they can tell it? They can smell it on me that I never called it quads in the movie. They're like, this fucking poser.
That was me who wrote that review about
I knew it, dude. I knew it.
But we do have Aiden who
Oh.
said when
Aiden.
we talked about that it is an
Agreed.
exceptional film and there's a great lead actress in it.
Mhm.
Thank you.
It's her.
That's
Uh,
me.
Katie, what I want to know is, have you started filming stuff on your skates? Like, are you holding the camera and moving around?
So no, a couple of things. So the first couple of wheels, I did the Chicago skates because I didn't Google anything. I just went to Big Five and I was like, let's see if this works. Because I didn't know I would like it, honestly. I thought I would try it and figure it out. And I didn't know that it would become like a new hobby. And when you're not ready to commit
much
to
fun.
something, yeah, it is so much fun. But when you're not ready to commit to something, you're not ready to like if you're just learning how to play the guitar, you don't get like a super cool guitar. Like
No.
you try to get like an entry level one. And so I got entry level skates, which meant I had entry level wheels, and every little like nook and cranny, every little like piece of gravel I could feel skating.
Yeah.
And I just last night put the luminous hybrid wheels on, and they light up and everything as I like roll down the street. They're so
that's so
awesome.
cool.
Um,
I'm very jealous.
it's a world of difference because they're gummy and they
Oh, very
absorb
soft.
everything. I'm so fast now. I'm so scared. I couldn't film anything on them.
You'll
Like
get
I
there.
couldn't
So fast.
before because I was tripping, and now I'm too fast. I'm so bad.
What kind of boots do you have?
Just the Chicago ones.
Oh, okay.
Those are the same. The only thing that I haven't changed now on the skates are the trucks and of course the boot.
Right.
But everything else is different now.
So, Katie, are you writing like a skating script to rival Luke's? Is that the deal? You watch
No,
Break
no,
and
no,
you were
no,
like,
that's-
and it's time to put my
It's-
sauce
it's-
on this.
She's
I
a
can't
roller
do this.
derby queen, dude. I'll if we
Oh,
throw
word,
it back
word,
to Croce, like it's
All
like
comes back to Croce.
it always will. No, dude, she wrote an amazing roller derby pilot, but it's also like it's not just like
It's never just a pilot.
but it's not
with
just
that.
Whip It, it's also like Aliens. Like
Mhm.
right?
No.
Like
Oh, cool.
so it's like Whip It meets Lloyd in Space.
Lloyd in Space. Nice.
Good ref. That's a deep
Well
cut.
done. Well
Uh,
done.
Yeah,
I'm not,
the-
Nightmare Ned
I'm
for
not
ya.
hip to that.
I had to. I brought it to a friend of mine who's much better at world building than I am, and basically the conceit of that world now is like, what if Roswell, like, we knew exactly what went down, and now aliens are integrated, and it's the 70s, and so there's the Bee Gees,
What a
but we
turn.
also have aliens and
Nice.
in intergalactic
That's
Olympics.
That sounds lovely.
Yes,
My mom?
Gigi.
My mother?
Yes,
Yep.
I am absolutely. I'm wearing all of the padding. I've got this pretty sweet tan line. I don't know if you can see it from here, but it just cuts off right here where this is where my wrist guard ends. And here's the exposed skin. And then here's where the elbow pad starts. So it's like very pale, pretty tan, very pale.
How much do you guys like the movie Brink?
I don't know them.
Don't know Brink.
I don't know.
Are you
Brink.
shitting me?
What?
The Disney Channel original movie was starring Eric Von Detten.
Oh,
Oh, fuck me.
They're
That's
soul
right.
skaters?
That's right.
I haven't
Wait, ice skating one? No.
The name is familiar.
No,
but
that's
it's not in my Rolodex.
Cutting Edge?
Then
Cutting
you guys
Edge.
Are, you
Oh
guys
my
are
I know
gosh.
Cutting Edge.
It's free on YouTube. It's
You want to
guys
do a
are
bad
Team
movie
Exploits.
brunch, Cutting Edge, man.
oh yeah, for sure. That's a trip and a half.
Fuck that. You guys are coming on. You guys are formally invited for 99 homes. So that's the hard part is you
I want
you
to see
wish
Michael Shannon
you wish
sell a
to
house.
God we were watching Cutting Edge. But no.
That's the greatest thing anyone's ever said. Luke. You wish to God you were watching the Cutting Edge.
You're gonna think Cutting Edge is fucking
Cutting edge.
Citizen Kane by the time we get done with
Like
by the time
Citizen
we get
Kane
done with
on ice
99
skates.
homes.
Make it look like
Also,
Cutting Edge
So,
2.
a question,
Yeah,
though.
or Cutting Edge 3.
Shut the fuck up.
So tying it back to Bad Movie Brunch,
Please.
there has been an evolution in your progress. As you've said, there are some lost episodes because of audio stuff, so there's been a lot of touch and go and learning as you go. And Jam Doodles wants to know if you have any tips for people wanting to start their own podcast, or what's the secret that makes a podcast work?
So I mean,
Thoughts?
it's the easiest thing in the world. It seems daunting if you don't come from that world, but it's all super easy to like self-teach. I'm not tech savvy whatsoever. And you plug in a USB mic to your laptop. I have GarageBand, and you just drop them in there and start. It's very intuitive. Like the only thing it caught, like podcasts is such an awesome medium because it's still relatively free. So if you do like even just a bit of research,
It's relatively free, but you can always help the program by Venmoing Jelly Roll Chicago.
Well, this is different.
Yeah.
We don't do what you do. A StreamYard subscription, like, oh my lord, like this is a whole other tier above. You shouldn't even call yourself a podcast. This is like literally this is a show, it's a production.
Yeah.
So this I think would actually be far more daunting to take on when you're just getting started, Jam Doodles. But I think for us, you buy a blue snowball and plug it into your laptop, and you're good to record.
That's the microphone you're using now, right?
This is a Blue Yeti because we got a little like fancier because it's like, you start off with your regular skates and then you move up and figure out what's like, like the top tier. But a $30 blue snowball mic on Amazon is the way to go. That's what me and Katie started on. I have a NFL podcast where those guys, I had them get blue snowballs and they sound pristine, and anybody can do it. Like you just plug it in and go.
This is actually from a failed podcast.
Taylor
To be
had a
fair.
podcast. Yeah.
This is from mine. The things that I learned quickly is you should care deeply about what you want to talk about. You need to find a friend that is going to keep you consistent. Record, I'd say, at least 7 episodes before you put one out. So that way, if you get backlogged, you have something in there. And then once you start, you can, I feel like it doesn't have to be that strict, but I think having something and then having a few of it to get your rhythm, and then having something you really, really want to talk about and you can talk about for an hour is key. Because,
And that's great advice.
And if you either pay to have someone produce it or know that you're going to have to do it yourself, and either decide if you want to leave everything as is or if you would like to edit, like, are you going to want to do that? I think those are important. Like you don't realize that some people actually like talk, and then they'll cut out like 10 minutes in between, or they'll just leave it all leave it in. We don't really edit much of it out of our stuff.
Not anymore. Because you start to get like once you're used to it, kind of the flow of the show. Unless there's a technical issue, you don't really have to cut it. But I think that's really good advice about getting some backlog to make sure. And then also like I call it relatively free. Don't go and buy the top of the line, but don't buy some shit mic either, because then you are wasting your time. Like because it's going to sound bad. And
by the time you had spent the money on the second mic, you'll wish that you had bought the expensive one.
Don't buy the $15. You buy the $30 Blue Snowball, and then you have quality content. And like you're going to like hearing yourself sound good. It's like that's why a movie could be the best looking movie in the world, but if it sounds like shit, I don't want to watch it. Like it's so important, and it goes by the wayside sometimes. I don't want to hear your air conditioner blowing. I don't want to hear, you know what I mean? All that stuff. Like there's a lot of learning curve, but Katie, sorry, I talk way too much. Do you have any?
No. I thought those were all great points. I mean, you guys basically said everything that I was thinking of saying. So right on. I just second y'all.
Stay within budget. You know, there's a lot of great free software out there. Like you're saying, GarageBand is a great audio program. If you have a Mac, it comes with it.
Yeah.
I do when I do the intros for the show, I use GarageBand. And when I edit the video piece on top of that, I use Shotcut. That's a free video editing software. It's similar to Final Cut, just a couple tiers down from that, but it works great for my purposes.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely. And I don't even think, for a long time, Katie, like we recorded for years and you weren't even on GarageBand, right? It was like whatever was on your PC. So that end of it's doable. If you are going to try to edit yourself, I would recommend something like GarageBand that is simple but effective.
And you and your friend don't have to be in the same room. Like
that's the other thing about podcasting.
Katie and Luke have you ever recorded in the same room?
Only like one time. You want to talk about, we were ahead of the social distance curve like crazy. Like so many podcasts sprung up because, whoa, we're separate and we can talk on. I'm like, oh really? You're going to talk and record your audio? What a novel idea. We did it in 2016, friend. You know what I mean? So
Mark Maron's just laughing in your face.
I know. And it's like, my boss is like, I started podcasting in 2007. I'm like, oh, right. My bad.
Taylor, what was your defunct podcast?
The Unknown Woman. It was going to be about interviewing women that in my day-to-day life are women, and just like figuring out what their job was and just kind of trying to uplift any sort of just the journey of any woman in any job. And then I realized I'm not good at editing. And I tried to get a lot of my friends that were like, I don't want to do this. And then I think took a toll on me, which is totally fine. They didn't have to. And they also didn't feel like they were interesting enough. And then I felt bad. And so then I was like, oh man. And then I thought I didn't know enough people. And so then I was like,
you need a good buddy. Like you have Jack. Like I couldn't do this without Katie and Taylor. Like it's going into a podcast alone is like, or something like that is like a death sentence. Like,
yeah. So. Talking to Jack was the first thing I did when I started this. I wasn't going to do anything unless Jack said, yeah.
Yeah. It's a lot to do all by yourself. There's just so much stuff. And, you know, as an actor, Taylor, maybe you could speak to this as well. I do a lot of self-tape auditions and stuff. Do you do anything like that? So there's just so much work that is put on the actor to do. You have to set up your camera and make sure that you're well lit and that you sound correct. And you have to put it all together and edit it. And there's a big part that's like, man, I just want to work on the acting right now. So the more pieces that you can surround yourself with who are going to help you make the best production possible is going to take a lot of that stress off of your mind, and it's going to make you that much more successful in whatever you do.
Exactly. That's, I think, what united me with Luke strongly is like I sometimes get into funks and I get sick and tired of waiting around to feel like I'm worth someone else's time, which is not the way you should think about as an actor. And it's very, very, very bad. That's not how that is. That's not what it is about. It has nothing to do with that. But every once in a while, I'm like, I don't want to keep asking you to like me. I just want to do it. And throughout my career, I've found people that I'm like, I'm going to keep coming back to you and I'm going to work with you. And then we do the same thing. And that's why I love making my own stuff. It's probably why I bother Katie every 6 months where I'm like, Katie, we're going to make something.
Well, and everything, it's podcasting is one of those things where that's content that Joe Blow on the street can do for a few dollars. And it is, you can put it out and stand shoulder to shoulder with titans. Like you are on the same avenues as any other like famous podcast. You know what I mean? If you do the route where you put your RSS feed to Apple, which is, you know, a Google away as well. It's stuff that me, who can't do shit technologically, figured out. No issue. So the exposure is still there for like, I mean, Jake, you talked about how like we put our flicks on Amazon and that was cool and that went away quick. Like podcasting is this medium where it's still like you can go right to Apple and be, you know, if people listen to it, that's another story, but it's there, it's pimpable. It's something you can see, you know what I mean?
It's pimpable.
Sure. Well, and it's got
Pimpable.
the clout of Apple, right? Like like you were saying with Amazon, like when you put your movie on Vimeo, it means a little bit different than when you put your movie on Amazon Prime.
And even SoundCloud, which is actually who we pay for the premium, like SoundCloud is nice and it's legitimate. But you say you're on Apple Podcasts, your iPhone subscribes and just puts your new podcast on your phone. Me? Like that's crazy.
Right.
Well, and Spotify's in the game now.
Spotify, iHeart, like,
but Spotify just bought out Brene Brown's podcast and Armchair Expert.
Well, and they paid a shitload of money to DC to do like DC podcasts and stuff, like scripted ones. So
the world's about to change with podcasts, I believe. It's like
gonna
we're
be like
going to see it more on Spotify. We're going to see more commercial. It's going to be
the aggregation is happening.
Sure,
a little
Spotify's
similar,
got all the money for that.
Watch it in real time.
Well, it's now instead of for like the people who are producing it or the like, you're not going to hear as many people giving the commercial reads. It's going to be actual like Spotify's doing its own it's like their own commercials.
Yeah,
so it's like going to feel like a radio almost.
Totally Which is so weird how it is. It's like it all has come back
viewers
around.
Like you.
I know.
Well,
right?
it's gonna be us listening to radio programs on Spotify with advertisements, just like we pay for individual cable networks to give us streaming with commercials and weird shit like that. It's so bizarre.
It's so weird. We're supposed to pay not to have that stuff.
Holding out for physical media. People like vinyls came back around. My Blu-rays are gonna be worth a thing or two.
Even the few little experiments I've had where I've played scrapers or clean sheets on a loop on Twitch. Like it's been interesting to watch that because it feels like people come up to me, like even you, Luke, have come up.
It was
to
like
me
TV.
Like, oh, it's like when Home Alone plays on replay on TBS. I'll just turn it on. I'm in the middle of it.
I just saw scrapers on FX. You know what I mean? Like it's exactly what it felt like. Like it was awesome to come in 20 minutes in and like it's like anything else. Like you're right that it was Twitch TV. It felt like TV.
That's the gimmick about Pluto TV.
Luke writes for Twitch TV.
Oh yeah, we should get that plug in.
Oh yeah,
if you're Twitch people, and I know we're streaming on Twitch, you should. Twitch Gaming does a show called Hive Mind. So if you join the Discord and stuff, basically what happens is guests come on like this, kind of like us, and then you have a couple of hosts, and the questions get asked that are sort of brain teasery, and they come up on the board sort of like Family Feud style. And if you want to, the cool thing about it is you get to interact with the show. So if you join the Discord for the Hive Mind show every Wednesday when it's on at like noon or whatever, you hop in and you're not only watching TV, but you're contributing. It'd be like if we were watching Price is Right as a kid and we were in Homeboy's ear, like calling out prices. You know what I'm saying? Like they were literally like, this is what I think the answer is. And that's what distinguishes like, what are the most points for this answer? Because people agree. You are literally becoming a hive mind. It's really cool. Fun to watch. It's on season 2 right now.
Wednesdays
at Hive Mind.
Yeah, I just know it's Hive. If you Hive Mind it's a Twitch gaming show. Yeah, so if
Wednesdays at 12.
Yeah, now.
I do 12. Think it's like. Oh, keep going.
No, I was just gonna say.
No, yeah, it's been right now. It's Wednesdays at noon Pacific. But yeah, Kelsey Bunner, who was in Break, who's from my hometown, she works for these people at Tempo Storm. who do this show with Twitch TV, and it's on season 2. And I'm lucky enough to be one of the writers to provide questions. And the writers' room is really cool. Like I love those people. And Twitch is something that like is also on that paradigm shift where it's really heating up. Like, and I'm late. Like you're late. You know what I'm saying? Like me and you're late, and you're late and explained it to me. You know what I'm saying? So like, and I was like, what? Like, this is like, that's what Twitch is? Like, it blew my mind. So I'm so happy to dip my toe in that water.
Well, I love you guys. I can talk to you guys forever. It's interesting because I know all 3 of you are working on projects that you cannot talk about. It's really, really exciting. So I'm going to take this opportunity to ask you all to come back. I want you guys to come back as Bad Movie Brunch, but I desperately want to have a Katie episode and a Taylor episode and another Luke episode, if that's cool with you guys.
Yeah,
of course.
absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, putting us on the spot. Wow. No,
don't say no. How about that?
Yeah, no. Jake's like trying to get engaged to us in public right now. Like, is fucking.
Yeah.
Is this the Jumbotron proposal?
Yeah, exactly. Just walk off and just leave me with Jack. They're like, all right, this is cool. Very cool.
Wouldn't be the first time.
Wouldn't it be funny if they said no?
So,
oh my God.
Jake filmed our proposal, and you could hear him talking about a bunch of random things in the beginning of our. It's so funny.
I was just thinking about your engagement photos and how I jumped into your engagement photos too.
Good. That's what I was there for.
I mean, I wanted to shove myself in the middle of all of that, and I did.
I will post this episode when you send me the audio. I will post this episode as this week's Bad Movie Brunch. Cool. But I would also like to do a true crossover, like a proper one where you guys come into our world and do our show by our 100%. Standards. And we just kind of like slap you around a little.
Can't wait. Hopefully we'll be able to keep the episode up.
Brunch.
Before, I like that.
Before you leave, question for the Taylors from our good viewer Darius. Can you indulge me in this story?
Yeah, so let me help you out. So my name's Luke Taylor. Her name was Taylor Shepard.
Yep, and now I'm Taylor because we got married in August.
We're in love.
And I really was not sure if I was. Yeah, we're in love mostly. That's how it happened.
Yeah. It is weird, Darius. It actually is funny how you're able to differentiate the same word in your head. Like if somebody's talking about Luke Skywalker, I don't perk up like they're talking about me. And I think that's the only way I can compare it, because like I know how weird it must seem, but I don't even think about it.
Yeah, I really tried to decide whether or not I was going to be Taylor Shepard Taylor.
What does that mean? That can't be
Taylor
nice.
Soldier Spy.
Oh, okay, got it. It's like that can't be a nice thing, right? That's gotta be like I would. I would say, what are you, Tinker Spy to somebody if I was like being a dick. So, no, now I get it. Whoa. That's pretty good. We thought about that. I also thought about taking her last name and being Luke Shepard. Doesn't that sound way more famous than Lucas Guy Taylor?
It's like an astronaut.
You also thought
Luke
of taking
Shepard.
her first name so that you could be Taylor.
I would do that. Yeah.
We're just Taylor.
Or we could just one word.
Mario.
I've always thought about that as well. Yeah, it is just like Mario.
Luigi Mario.
Yeah, the Mario Brothers. It's not my first name.
Or
That's canon.
Catch 22 for you people who read books and shit. Major.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get the reference.
All right.
I understand.
All right.
This is so much fun. It's so easy to talk to you guys. Let's ask our final question of the night. So, Jack, do you want to do the honors?
My question goes to all of you. What you been watching?
Oh, good. Take it away.
Strawberry.
Oh, okay, cool. I just finished 2 seasons of Bluey. It is yes. It is an Australian preschool show. It's one of the best things on TV right now. No show has made me cry so consistently. It gets me right in my heart often, and I'm in a show hole now because it's gone, and I miss it dearly. I wish there was more. Just one guy writes it. just one guy, just based on his own personal experiences with his children. And it's so genius. And I wish I had the ability to write that kind of thing, but I know that I can't because I do not have children.
Well, you don't have
I'll give you that. I'll give you that. But I'm saying like because there is something
Bluey.
Blue.
like Revolution.
It's awesome. It's on Disney Plus.
Disney Plus. Yeah.
Okay.
I saw it the other day when I was scrolling. I was like, how cute is that? I knew it was up your alley. I haven't watched it.
It's ridiculous. It's like Erica and I again were childless adults, and it's what we watch to wind down after the end of like a hard day. You just put a couple of Blueys on, and it's just like, oh, this is so nice. And I know that like there's hesitation because like your first thought with preschool is, oh, surely it's very loud. Surely it is very all over the place. It's not like that at all. It's just like a lot of nice like. It's a lot of nice family stuff. There's a lot of play that happens. Even the theme song is a game. And it's just so genius how these parents are just so up for participating in like their kids' play games. And it's sweet. And it's clearly written by a dad. Like you just can't, there's no way you could watch it and not be like, okay, Bandit is definitely the guy that writes this show. And it's sweet. And he makes fun of himself. And he also, the adults are real adults with like their own interests. Kind of like how the Rugrats was when we were growing up.
Right.
And like they have lives outside of their children, which is also incredible for a preschool show. And I just like it so much. I couldn't recommend it more. I also just watched in an entirely different genre and everything. I just watched the first 2 episodes of Kevin Can Fuck Himself.
Oh.
And
In the billboards everywhere.
Yeah, it's on YouTube, the first 2 episodes, and I'm really digging it. It's rare that I get to a point with a show that I'm like, oh, I would pay to see more of this because I don't have like AMC at the ready, but I really would. I'm very interested to see where it goes. So those are my 2.
The billboards they were right. I always want every now and then I'm like they get me on a billboard where I'm like, is that good or well advertised?
Right.
So now you gave me the answer because I respect Katie's opinion with my life. What about you? What are you watching, baby?
We watched Hacks, loved it.
Hacks was good.
Amazing. We just watched Wildlife.
Oh yeah, Paul Dano's directorial debut. Him and his wife adapted the script from a novel.
Yeah.
It is very good, but I can't watch something like that. It's like watching Uncut Gems. Like I can appreciate it and be like, wow, but please don't make me watch it again. It hurt my feelings.
I know.
And then I don't think I've watched anything else recently.
Well, it's funny that like I sit here so confidently like, oh, I can just snort that. You know what I mean? Like I want to feel that. Give me Uncut Gems, give me all those vibes. But then like I put on Luca and I was a mess, man. Like, and it's funny because I didn't even want to watch it. I not that I didn't want to, but it's just.
I had picked it
wasn't
in a 2-day movie.
Yeah,
it was a
just
special day of dispensation every time Pixar comes out with a a movie. It's like, you
probably have to. And Toy Story is like is everything to me. So Pixar is always going to get my dough. So I watched it and I was like slowly like, okay. And then it kind of hit the genres that I'm obsessed with. Like it's a summer movie. It's a, coming of age flick. It's leaving your friends behind for something bigger. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's all those sort of like warm feelings to me that made me watch it again the very next day. I was at work and I was just like boxing up orders at Spodco and watching Luca again. And I'm like, stupid. I was just like, and it's like my mom made a kind of interesting point because my niece was like, my mom was like, did you watch Luca? Or here's what your niece said. She said it wasn't her favorite, but she enjoyed it. And I think this is mom talking. It's because it's something that's overdue where it's a Disney movie, weirdly, because this is, everything's about dudes, but it's a Disney movie for little boys kind of, in that like, there's all these princesses and stuff. And even when Disney did stuff for boys, it was like, we acquired Marvel and Star Wars. Like, you know what I mean? It wasn't a Disney Pixar movie. And I know like Andy is Toy Story, but he's not really the character. These are 2 boys that's like gets to be kids
They're
that
kids.
age where it's
Yeah.
not exactly, it's not exploitive. It's not what's that movie Bad Words or whatever that they did with Seth Rogen?
So
where it's like,
good.
let's make these kids say stupid shit. And it's not like it's
Oh,
you know,
it's so
not,
much deeper than that.
That was
Yeah,
bad. That was Bad Boys, wasn't it? That was like the little kids. That was.
You're
doing
right.
that.
Bad Words.
Oh,
Bad Words is
Bad
Melody.
Words is Jason
Yes,
Bateman.
that's
Yeah.
a
It's
good
a
movie.
really
That's a
good movie.
My
There's
mistake.
a
My
seed for that
mistake.
movie. I just haven't here forever.
Thank you for clearing that up.
It was just, you know, it's really it's a male camaraderie movie that doesn't have to be the 40-year-old virgin, which is nice. Me as a 28-year-old can watch that and maybe it's because I haven't been down that world. Maybe it's because I just gone to Disneyland this weekend, but it took me on a journey. I really, really, really loved it. Loki was a phenomenal pilot. And then the middle, like 2 and 3 were like, that's right, Gigi. It made me like, oh my God, the dad being so accepting of the boys. Like, even though there were sea
We're back on
monsters
Luca, not
that he
Loki.
hunted his whole life. And then he realizes that, oh my,
And this is
it's a tough one. Oh, it's a tough one. So shake it out. So Loki like blew me away. And then 2 and 3 were solid. And then they just like, we got 6 episodes. You ready for episode 4? And I'm like, sure as hell I am. And then like you get to like the last 10 minutes. And I'm like, what the hell? Like, what is happening? Like, it just like a total paradigm shift where they've thrown everything into flux. They pulled a Marvel where you sit through the credits and are rewarded with batshit madness. And now everybody is marking their, not everybody, because I know not everybody likes it, but the masses are marking Wednesdays the way that people were watching like friggin' X-Files back in the day. Like Disney Plus and Netflix did it too. And like, but Disney Plus and some of these streamers are bringing back appointment television. HBO did it with Game of Thrones. It's not gone, but it's few and far between. And Loki is one of them.
make sure you watch that final. The person who just said it made him mad. You should make sure you watch that final.
Yes. Watch through the
end of
credits. Watch through the credits.
Jam doodles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jam. Trust me. Things get weird.
Yeah. Mhm.
Cool.
Marvel likes doing those Easter eggs at the end.
Well, they like wasting your time and then making it worth it.
In my tummy.
Jack, what you watching?
I watched one of your and Dakota's favorites, Mikey and Nikki,
Oh, I love that movie so
which
much.
I had never seen.
I love that movie so much.
Oh man, that movie was kind of nuts.
Yeah, it's insane.
It is absolutely insane. I'm like, what am I watching?
Yeah.
And the short answer is you're watching a stage play, or you're watching something that's clearly written like a stage play. At least that was my take on it. It's like there's 3 or 4 environments. It's just 3 people in the whole thing, or basically. Yeah. On the topic of how did movies get made and why did movies get made, I kind of keep asking myself this question, and I know that this is one that means a lot to you, and I'm like, oh, this is bananas.
It's Elaine May saying, I'm going to make a John Cassavetes movie, but I'm going to not do it from the point of view of the toxic dude. I'm going to do it from a different point of view and show these toxic dudes from my point of view, is what it kind of seemed like to me. It's John Cassavetes and Peter Falk yelling at each other. And they're old friends. That's what I love about it.
Also a friendship movie.
Yeah, they're best friends from back in the day, and they are not having a good time. Yeah, they're having a very hard time together. And
The friendship is finally it's testing the limits of their friendship. Whatever
what I
has
read.
transpired.
On Facebook Messenger.
Jake and Hillary gifted me the Criterion Blu-ray of Mikey and Nikki before I left. Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah.
but I'm sure you had influence. But regardless, amazing gift. Hillary's come through with lots of banger gifts for me. A lot of me. One time she gave me a Mick Foley Mankind Christmas book. It was phenomenal. But
it's amazing.
That's the real thing.
Yeah.
But I've been meaning to watch it forever. It's on the shelf, so now you've got me.
It's another one that's not the easiest watch. There are there are scenes in it where it's like, oh my god, this is rough. Like
Some
it's
things
really
work.
hard.
A lot does not work. A lot I wish had gone through another draft.
I also have this great book that was written by this guy who did the publicity for the film. And he kind of died before he could finish the book, but he did the publicity for Mikey and Nikki and Cotton Club and a couple other movies at that time. And he had this manuscript and it was bought for me. So because it had these backstage stories of Mikey and Nikki, and Elaine May is not of her she's kind of out there. You know what I mean? Like there's this one anecdote where he talks about like she sat there for like 15 minutes rearranging donuts in a diner scene.
Yeah,
no one was going to see the damn donuts. Like it's not in the shot. And she just sat there rearranging them. And
there's a bit of trivia on IMDb saying that she would just let the camera run for hours and hours, even though none of the actors were there. And a grip had it and was like, cut. And she's just reamed him out and was like, do not yell cut. That's my thing to yell. And he's like, but the actors are not here. They're not in the building at all. And she's like, but they might come back.
That's too much for me. I don't like that.
Well, she was putting up with New Hollywood. And she had been with Mike Nichols the entire time. And she's like the most brilliant writer. And this was her chance to make, like, to do the whole thing. And I think she was saying more with it, but through the experience than just with the end result. But I haven't seen it in a really long time. I literally haven't seen it since before I shot Clean Sheet. So I wonder what my
worth a rewatch.
Yeah.
Is that the one we're gonna get obsessed with this week, Jake?
It's a good movie. You will get obsessed with it.
It's very flawed for several reasons, but in addition to that, there's a lot of production hell things about that movie that it wasn't released until 2 years after it was supposed to be. There were issues about the final cut and what that was supposed to look like. So yeah, it got made, but at what cost?
Well, I think it's a gem. I think it's an absolute gem.
So with that in mind, what you been watching, Jake?
I watched Barb and Star go to Vista Del Mar twice. And I
don't know that.
I highly suggest everybody go.
It's a 99-cent rental on Apple TV. I saw today.
Just do it. It came out Valentine's Day. It's Kristen Wiig and Annie Mumolo. Is that her name? Who co-wrote Bridesmaids?
Oh, great.
And they play two middle-aged women from Nebraska that go down to Florida, and it's like it's that Billy Madison hot rod, like it's a cartoon. It's not living in this reality, but it's everything I just really, really, really wanted to watch. And I'd been waiting for the price to go down, and then Prime Day came, and I was like, I'm buying it. I'm buying Barb and Star. And
did you buy it physically?
No, not the DVD. I have it on Prime, but it is.
I was gonna say, I'm so proud of you.
I know. I've been buying other things on DVD. Sorry, I just bought La La Land on DVD.
I know.
$3.50.
That's a choice.
Oh, here we go.
A great choice.
Not
great
the time.
Choice.
We're not starting this conversation at 2 hours and 10 minutes in. But yeah, I highly suggest we watch it. Everyone watch it, because I haven't seen a movie that's been quotable for a long time, and I've been quoting it all day, and it cracks me up. So I highly, Kristen Wiig is a joy and an American treasure. So I think if you get a chance to watch it, go for it, because it's harmless.
She is great, man. Like, I mean, she can do literally anything.
And it's nice to see that kind of a movie, like that hot roddy kind of a movie, but from like just not from like a dick joke point of view. You know, like those movies tend to get told from, just a
over and over again
point of view. And it's like, this is stuff that made them laugh, and it's just as funny, and it's different kinds of humor. And what's his face? Jamie Dornan is in it as the male lead, and he nails it. They do right by him, and he does right by them. And it's Barb and Star. I highly suggest it.
Christian Grey himself. Way to
Christian
go.
Grey himself, doing it, making it happen. Thank you guys so much for being on the show. This has been an epic conversation and so much fun. And honestly, I could keep going for an hour, but I think it is time to say goodnight. Thank you so much, everybody. Bad Movie Brunch. Where can we watch it? On Apple Podcasts, on SoundCloud.
And that's all of them.
And where fine podcasts are found.
And you guys are all working on your very top secret, wonderful projects, but you guys will come back and tell us when you can talk about them. I hope someday. And
the Mountains of Predator.
The first I've heard of it. The Mountains of Predator. Thank you, everyone, for sticking with us. This has been a lot of fun. And we will be back next week with my buddy Matt Gossin, who is an actor. He was in Scrapers. He's also a writer for Talking Tom and Friends and Clash of Clans and some other independent cartoonery, animated stuff, and he's written.
Let me say, I actually
went to draw
like
the cartoonery.
I love being your guest, but I actually love even more being on the other side of this wall. Like this is my appointment TV. I legit like watching the show, so I'm excited for that.
I appreciate you. It's always nice having our regulars on chatting with us. So thank you, Luke. It's always nice to have you there, and and all of you. Thank you guys so much for being here. I'm gonna wrap it up before I start stumbling more and maybe even crying. I don't know. I love you guys.
Tears of joy.
This has been very emotional for me.
I am Tinker Tailor Soldier Spot.
Lucas Guy Tinker. All right. Thank you so much, everybody. And Jack, what a wonderful show. I will see you next week. Appreciate you, sir. And we will see you guys all in the future.
What's that billowing down the stairs? Look, I'm really starting to worry. There's half-eaten cupcakes everywhere. We're all out of paper clips. And the curtains smell like doob. What? No. No. What? No. What? Well, that's where I used to grow my weed. But that's a story for another day. Never mind. We drove around until 3 a.m. looking for another all-you-can-eat fish restaurant.
And when you couldn't find one?
We went fishing. Yes, I have something that I'd like to sell.
Please tell me it's your hair.
No.